funny story, you guys. Maynard Plum's daughter, she's like 11 or 12, and she was watching him replay one of our live streams, and she's watching this very intro that everyone's watching right now, and she's like, Dad, he knows that's too long, right? People aren't gonna watch that, she says. So Maynard Plum's teenage daughter, preteen daughter, giving me advice on, and she's right, which is why I do this little thing where I come in and start sort of muttering over the intro. It's a bit, it's supposed to be like a bit, just to make it sort of more engaging. But yeah, hi everyone, hi, there's the music and there's my logo, and all right, and we're back. Hi everyone, hi. Hello. It's the full screen hello. Who are you? Who are you people on my channel? Nettles, your sound just went out.
Woohoo!
That was such a good episode. Let's just get the whole framework in here. Wow, just when I was starting to complain mildly, House of the Dragon pulls me right back in.
A lot
it was
of
a really
answers.
good episode, yeah?
Yeah, a lot of answers.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Tim, how are you feeling, buddy? What do you think?
I loved it because I'm getting the feeling that I'm going to be right about a lot of the things that I've been talking about recently.
Oh, it's all about whether or not Tim is right about his theories, not whether or not the show is good. You're part of the problem. No, I'm kidding. What are you talking about specifically?
Daemon's therapy sessions and what I was thinking about, because I was not here last week. I was in Atlantic City doing uncle things, but only one to leave the casino with more money than they went in with. But I wasn't around to talk episode 5, so didn't really get to comment on the whole Daemon Harrenhal thing. So, but people who follow me on Twitter have seen like what I've been talking about with the whole Daemon, Alice Rivers, and the whole Macbeth angle. How I think like they're really drawing off of Macbeth, and Alice is one of the wayward sisters. And I feel like with that idea, like I got a feeling of like I think I know where they're going with this, but episode 6 is gonna make or break it, and it made it. Seeing Daemon like coming to terms with the terrible things that he has done and actually showing regret. Baby steps, like when Alice says, like, are you asking for help? And he's like, well, counsel. But then when she does walk away, he's like, Alice, I need help. So it's like, yeah, Daemon, you're starting to get humbled, which is like one of the things. Like, I feel like this was the direction we were trying to stir you. Was we need you to be less of an asshole, and
It does feel like
starting.
Oh, sorry, Tim. I thought you were finished, but yes, it does. I want to agree. It does feel like things are coming back on the rails with Daemon and Rhaenyra, where they were off the rails. The writing was very good this episode, and interesting that once Alice finally did help Daemon, it still made him sad because Lord Grover's death reminded him of Viserys' death. There's nothing they could do, you guys. Alice tried everything, but there was nothing she could do.
Yeah.
It's just clicking, Nettles, that you're wearing funeral attire because you are mourning the death of your namesake, Nettles. River Mist Faye has put it together for me. Is that...
Hi, River Miss Faye. But no, I always like put my outfits together before I see the episode. So like I predicted there'd be like a death this episode. So honestly, I was thinking, so this is for Stefan Darkland, but yeah, what River Miss Faye said was better.
Was better. Okay, we'll just go with that then.
I get to be Nettles like for real now. Like I'm the only Nettles now. So that's cool for me. That's cool for me.
They could, yeah, it seems unlikely. If they have Rhaena claim Sheep Stealer, then...
I hate it. I hate that. I'm going to be so angry if they do
because
that.
Right before we see that torched field, she's like, oh, it sucks not being helpful. Like, they're putting these lines in there.
It's clear. No, it's...
Oh.
That's the way it's going.
It's like,
look,
okay, guys.
I will say this. I was still excited to see the burnt ground and the sheep bones, knowing that those were sheep stealers fire blast that burnt I still got excited. I love Sheep Stealer so much. I will just say this. It's just going to be an exercise in divorcing the canons. No one is more upset about Nettles not being there, if that turns out to be the case, than myself. I made a whole video about it. However, it does not do any good to watch the show through the lens of why didn't they do the thing I wanted them to do. So I just think it's going to be one of those things where we'll have to evaluate on its own.
That's a big thing not to do, though, Dave. That's a big thing. That's a slap in the face to so many people to not have Nettles in the show.
Oh,
I
it
honestly
is.
don't
I'm not
care. Like, there's a way to have Rhaenyra do it, and it'll be fine. Like, a good writer can write a compelling story and still give you the character of Nettles in the book. But I mean, I saw Nettles as like Black Arya, like as far as personality, and Rhaenyra's not giving me that, so we're not getting like that Nettles essence. But I think we can get a nice father-daughter story again, even though we had that with Rhaenyra and Viserys. But sure, let's see it again.
Well, it is okay to rant, and it definitely is okay to criticize. I'm not putting a kibosh on criticizing the changes. Tim, you're allowed to cook. In fact, Tim called me up this week to cook about Macbeth, and he called me up. He's like, I need to talk to somebody. I was like, Tim, are you calling me up to cook? And he's like, yeah. And then he did, and then he cooked. Video forthcoming. But no, all I'm saying is exactly what Nettles is saying. You can't replace Nettles, the character, with Rhaenyra, because Nettles is raised on the streets. Nobody knows. She doesn't look Targaryen, and that's part of how she's perceived. Rhaenyra's highborn and obviously Targaryen, so they're not going to be the same character. However, what they do with Rhaenyra and Sheep Stealer may still be interesting and compelling. We'll just have to see and evaluate it based on its own merits. That's all I was trying to say.
The most interesting and compelling thing they could do is subvert the expectation of this and have Rhaenyra go up, get next to Sheep Stealer, just for Sheep Stealer to go, psych, bitch, and fly away, and then go find the real Nettles.
Tim, if you could just try not to get me, the B word's not going to get me demonetized, but I feel the temperature rising, and please don't F-bomb me, that's all. But yeah, I think that's true. That's true. In fact, that was one of the things I heard. There's several leaks, and one of the leaks was, she's going to try to claim Sheep Stealer, but fail. And that will set up
that I would accept.
Nettles for season 3 to claim Sheep Stealer, and establishes Sheep Stealer. We'll just see, because I don't really react to leaks too much. I haven't. Yeah. It's just hard to say, but the leaks were right this week. Yeah, I got a little sapphic action. That was leaked. Poor choice of words. All right, so
yeah,
what struck you? What struck you about this episode? I will just say we're back to the good writing. I forget the writer's name. If somebody in the chat will supply it, it is a writer who only wrote one episode this season. She did either 7 or 8. I think it's Driftmark. I think she did 7 last season. But it was very good. Really liked Rhaenyra's character. Really liked, I feel like the writing with Daemon kind of pulled out of the tailspin a little bit. And what struck me the most, I think I am tingling from that Seasmoke. I feel like Seasmoke was electric. Like both him doing the thing, which my birds do this. They'll be like, step up, and be like, oh, you want to step up? And they're like, bite.
Really?
So, Seasmoke pulled one of those. He put his head down. He's like, yeah. Go ahead. Come on.
Scary.
Psych. But then, sorry, I'm doing the false start thing. But the chasing Addam was really fun. Just like, he's like, no, we're going to do this. You're going to ride me. He's like scrambling around and following him and crashing in the forest. It was very like aggressive puppy-like. But the puppy is a giant dragon. So I kind of loved the Sheep Stealer. I'm sorry. Seasmoke. The Seasmoke Addam. That was a lot of fun. So that's what struck me. That's what I'm vibrating about. What are you vibrating about, Nettles?
Well, I want to comment on that on both of those. Like, sorry, the Seasmoke, Darkland. That's some good lore, because we all want to know, like, how do you claim a dragon? Well, we've seen Aemond, and I don't want to learn nothing from Aemond. But
he showed a lot of fear. I don't think you tiptoe up like that. I don't think that's how you. It's not how
No
Aemond did it,
tiptoeing.
is it?
But it seemed like Seasmoke flew and like sought Adam out. He chased him down, isolated him from the other guys to get him alone, then cornered him and looked at him face to face. And he's like, "Are you gonna get on me or not?" Didn't it seem like that to you? Like kind
Oh,
of like
absolutely.
like a
He was
dog,
choosing Adam.
but it's like, yeah, Adam didn't even know anything about this.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that.
So
I love that. I think that's awesome. Tim, what do you
So
think?
that's crazy. That must be rare for the dragon to like fly to another island
Well, they've told us that the dragons
to get
choose the
you.
riders, so I just think
Yeah.
that's really fun that they're showing us the range. Like, yeah, they can choose yes or no when you walk up to them. They can also just track you down and be like, you.
Yeah.
That was
They also
crazy.
said, like, Lady Jane Eyre says, like, when Rhaena confronts her about the dragon, Lady Jane says, like, yeah, the Maesters say it's ranging even further away. And that kind of gives a sense of, like, hey, food right now is just as scarce for the dragons as it is for the people of King's Landing. And that's why Sheep Stealer's probably, like, his hunting range has had to grow. So, yeah, so
Yeah,
it makes sense to
George.
me.
Yeah, George.
So it makes sense to me that Seasmoke would fly off of Dragonstone and go and island hop over to Driftmark, because that's a if Sheep Stealer is going from Dragonstone in the Vale, then Seasmoke's having the rather shorter trip.
Yeah, I'm okay with that too. Grey Ghost was said to kind of range around the bay, and same for Sheep Stealer. So it's a little further, but obviously the Vale not that far. So yeah, it makes sense. And we know later, we won't say which dragon. But at some point there, a dragon does go wild and live in the mountains of the moon for a time. So yeah, I think that is keeping with the lore.
I do want to
Doesn't break my brain. Go ahead, Nettles. You wanted to comment on the other thing too.
I know I commented on them both, but I'll just say what struck me, which is Viserys. We were waiting to see Viserys, and specifically what struck me was Daemon being there for him when he said, oh, like she's dead, and he got to cry in his arms. So there was the therapy.
Yeah, and by the way, Maynard James Plum is under the weather, so I might be doing a little awkward typing. Just bear with me on that.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, and get well, Maynard Plum. Took ill.
Yeah.
Oh, get
So
well.
the thing I want to comment on though is that with Adam apparently claiming, or Seasmoke claiming Adam, I guess we should say,
Right.
is we still don't have a question on the broken dragon bond. Like what happened to Late? Like
To
what is allowing
Laenor.
it to happen? Is Laenor dead? Is he still alive? We don't know. But the fact that Aemond said in his council meeting, like we should try and establish a pact with the Triarchy, means, and we know that like Laenor and Carl rowing out probably back to the Stepstones. Like my guess is that they probably get caught up in some kind of skirmish. I've talked about how I think it could make for a great introduction for a certain purple pirate who I've been waiting on, who I can't really talk more about. But yeah, like it is a question of like what allowed Seasmoke to bond with a new rider. Now, it being Adam and us finally getting the confirmation, like if it wasn't obvious, now we have the direct confirmation. Adam and Alan are Corlys's sons, his bastards. So that would make Adam Laenor's half brother. So I could see Smoke like going up to Adam and just be like, you remind me of someone. Like that could be why Seasmoke went to Adam. Like it is a brother of the last rider. But
so a couple
it's
of
still weird. It's still weird about the dragon. Like how exactly does the dragon bond work now?
So yeah, a couple thoughts there. First of all, we saw Alan shaving silver hair. Just to be clear, it wasn't soap; it was definitely silver hair. So we're left to assume that one of the kids got the silver hair and one didn't. And the one that rides the dragon doesn't happen to have the silver hair. So it's just a little thing showing you like Valyrian looks and the dragon blood don't necessarily Jace rides a dragon. All the strong treason babies, they all ride dragons. Don't be offended. It's a joke. I like them, but they're treason babies. So, and anyways, and this is the thing about the character of Nettles, is the point of Nettles not looking Valyrian isn't that she isn't Valyrian. and that anybody can actually ride a dragon. You don't actually need lizard blood. You don't actually have to have reptile lizard DNA. Like, no, that's what makes the story fall apart. That's the shit that George is talking about. Excuse me. Like, if you have an empire of lizard people who are the only ones to ride dragons for 5,000 years and no one else ever does it, and George shows us that they have lizard babies and they are reptile people, it doesn't make any sense to then be like, psych, actually any old person could just ride the dragon and bond with it, and you don't need to be a lizard person. Like, that to me, I don't know what the show's going to do with that. There are various rumors, but in the books, the idea with Nettles is not that she does not have dragon blood, but that she is judged, it's like colorism essentially, she is judged for not looking Valyrian, and that affects the way people look at her. So I see them exploring that with Addam somewhat instead. And Hugh Hammer is also giving us the little bit of like somebody straight from the streets, like from this, if you know,
and Ulf. Why do you always forget about Ulf?
I guess we can't really go any further with the speculation there, but you see what I'm saying? Like, they're gonna explore various parts of Nettles' character or perspective through some of the other characters. I think Addam is the one that I mean to talk about the most, because we see that Addam, he is a very he's basically collecting crabs on the seashore. Like, he's a fisherman. It's not like he's begging on the streets. It's a legitimate trade, but he's doing work with his hands. You know, he's a humble guy. And so he does not have the perspective of the High Lords. And that's one of the main things we get with Nettles. So the Addam stuff is really compelling. That's definitely what struck me, the Addam Seasmoke thing. And then, Tim, what struck you the most, I would say, just off the top of your head?
Probably because of the stills that we got. I guess I thought a lot of things that were going to happen are actually going to happen in episode 7.
Oh, yeah, you said, sorry. Daemon, Daemon's arc going the way you thought.
Yeah.
Let's just say it.
There was that still of Daemon with his sword by a weirwood, and it looks like he's executing someone. So I was fully expecting that scene to happen tonight, but I guess it's not going to. Daemon still hasn't left Harrenhal, so I guess it's not going to happen until episode 7. I don't think Daemon's going to go home until season 8. Why don't you just go home? That's probably not going to happen until the last episode. But again, like Daemon's story, it's nice to get confirmation that Alys Rivers is there. Because that's been another thing going on. I've seen people putting videos and theories out on, like, is Alys Rivers a ghost? Because it doesn't seem like anyone else is interacting with her.
Yeah, we know she's right.
Now, Simon Strong says, we sent our healer, Alys Rivers, to go help with Grover Tully, but to no avail. But now that leads to the question of, well, is Alys Rivers the one to put the pillow to Grover Tully's face, or did Grover grow out naturally, just from old age and sickness? So,
well, we have that answer now, don't we?
Yeah.
Boy, Alys, she tried everything she could, and just, man.
It was a mercy at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made a video saying that Alys isn't there, so I don't know. Do I delete it? Like, I'm new to the YouTube game.
No.
What do you do when you're wrong about your theories?
I will answer that question for you, because there was a little thing called Game of Thrones Season 8, and there was these spirals. And I'm sorry. I just went somewhere for a second. I went to the bad place. I didn't delete those videos. I left them up. People still watch them sometimes. I don't know what to say about it.
Okay.
Let's see.
It was my highest viewed, so I'm like, dang.
So we've got 2 Daemon selections. This is not making for a good poll. Tim, pick something else.
What? Oh, yeah. Copycat.
Yeah, Nettles got there first.
Okay, something else that struck out to me from this episode. Food riots. So, yeah, when months and months passed when the first trailer dropped and we were talking about, like, and we were doing a trailer breakdown, I had said, like, maybe that scene we see in King's Landing where it looked like someone grabbed Alicent. I'm like, maybe that's one of the food riots that happens in King's Landing. And now we see it was right. And it's triggered not by lack of food. Well, it's triggered both by lack of food from the Greens, but everyone trying to get through the gate and get out to Blackwater Bay so that they can get to the ships that Rhaenyra is sending in. So it's both you can see, like, the Mysaria sowing chaos, but with a good gesture. The people of King's Landing even say, like, Rhaenyra is thinking about us all the way from Dragonstone, but everyone's so desperate that we see Hugh is like, give it up, give it, and they're fighting each other for, like, it's an out. So like it's such a good thing, yet even that gets so undermined by everyone rushing to get there, taking all they can, that blood is spilled over the good gesture. And of course, yeah, one of the Poors did get their hands on Alicent, and then he lost that hand. And it reminded me again so much. It's the opposite of what Joffrey did during the food riots in King's Landing when he got the cow pie hit, and he's like, kill them all. But Alicent's like, no, sheathe the steel, sheathe your swords. But then that ends up being the bad move, because then that Kingsguard just gets overrun, and
Okay, so Tim, let me cut in here, because this was one of those moments where I heard the next week of Twitter just spring into existence suddenly. I was like, Alicent said sheathe your swords and ran away and left everyone to get slaughtered. Nettles, take it away.
No, I mean...
She did, didn't she?
No, I mean, I think she reacted just fine. I mean, that was horrible how he sliced that hand off.
I expected you to go in on that. I'm sorry.
No, not all the time. Not when she's right. It was so hard to go in on her this week because, woo, it's all catching up to her. It's coming down heavy. Mm-hmm. So I think that's how I would have reacted in that situation. I've been like trying to be the gracious queen, even amidst the terror.
So and then, in the moment she said it, it made sense, right? She was trying to stop it from going further. But then, of course, that moment passed, and the Kingsguard probably should have gone ahead and pulled out their swords at that point, right?
Yeah, that's on them. I'm sorry, Kingsguard. You guys are supposed to be the best fighters in the land. That's on Aegon for picking lick spittles or whatever. But you guys should be able to defend yourself. So
Twitter will be occupied with Rhaenyra. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get there. We'll get there. Don't worry. Anyways, I was just wondering why they didn't just stay in the Sept. Why they had to leave at that moment.
I yelled that to the TV. I'm like, okay, they're not going to go in the Sept. These people are not trying to pray.
And I don't see them storming the Sept to tear Alicent and Helaena limb from limb because they just got food from Rhaenyra. Like, flinging some, feces around, sure. But, like, they probably just could have stayed in there.
Yeah,
anyways,
it's like
it was very tense, though. I was, like, standing up. I was, like, standing up there. I was like, okay, this is tense.
Yeah.
Now, very clever of Mysaria, because she is both feeding people that she cares for and undermining the Greens at the same time. So that's good stuff.
That is definitely, that's the sowing chaos, do a little trolling, but also do some good. It's like, it reeks of a mix of Littlefinger and Varys. But it's like Littlefinger wouldn't do good if it didn't benefit him, but you can't really picture him doing it. Mysaria does it, but it's with a twist. It's like everyone got their food, but there's a monkey paw twist to it.
This reminded me of more of the Tyrells using food to build support and sort of more subtly undermine the Lannisters, but not be seen to be doing so. It was more skilled like that. So. Yeah, let me grab some of these. By the way, guys, I'm supposed to put an other option. I'm sorry, I failed. I'm new at this. Just cut me some slack. I will next time. Let me grab some super chats here. The way we do it, by the way, if you're new, is we do rounded questions. Let me catch up on the super chats and flip back and forth. That way, it's got structure. Yes, more Daemon mentions. He sounds like we had some heavy character building, both for Daemon and Gwaine. In that scene, some stuff between Alicent and Gwaine that helped us understand Gwaine, and they introduced him as this very arrogant fop, and now he's like weathered, and he looks handsome when he's weathered, doesn't he?
But he's got that 1,000-yard stare down, like he has seen hell, and he knows that he is. Well, I got to go with Kristen Cole. It's like, yeah, I've seen dragon warfare, and now I have to go march right back into it.
And when Alicent said, go ahead, Nettles.
No, I said, and it's against Daemon. Like this, the first time was against Rhaenys, good, nice, little, Rhaenys. Now they're going to meet Daemon, so it's even crazier for them.
Yeah, and he's seen it. They're showing us like once you've seen men burned by dragons, it like changes you. It's kind of like, I don't know which world war it was, but like when you first increased various kinds of firepower, various kinds of bombs, trench warfare, like the first people that encounter it are just like, "Rrr." Probably everyone actually, but beside the point. I had a thought. So okay, they said Alicent was like, "What if you had been sent to court and not me?" He would end up married to Rhaenyra, pretty obviously. That's what would have happened. Otto would have married him to Rhaenyra. In fact, it's almost surprising Otto didn't try to reach back for that one anyway. But, yeah. Interesting. What if? I really like the conversation between Gwaine and Alicent. Oh, nice. Like the super chat's on theme. At first, Gwaine is irritated and sarcastic, but then became genuine with Alicent when talking about Daemon. Nice little moment. See, that was good writing. When the writers are doing work, you don't even need that much time. You can take characters we don't know anything about hardly and just start cooking right away. It's all about the dialogue. And if you give these actors dialogue to work with, they will cook. And then we get this really stuff that is very immersive and draws you in. So I really like that scene too. That's a great call.
Yeah, but isn't he like essentially telling her like, hey, the reason your youngest kid is such a good kid is because he hasn't been anywhere near you for years? Like just really calling her a bad mother.
No, speaking of the writers cooking, there was a line. He says, King's Landing, what did he say? May be a less than salubrious environment for the forming of young men. It's like, word of the day, salubrious. I think we get the idea, though. So that was dope.
Salubrious means healthy.
There it is.
Yeah.
I just sort of
Daemon also dropped a word I had to look up because when he called Grover Tully a dotard, and I was like, I remember that being said. Like, I think Kim Jong-un said that about Trump, and I was like, wait, what did that mean again? And I had to quick go look it up, and it's like an old and feeble person losing their faculties.
So this is probably a good time to just let me say there's been a lot of political events lately, and I'll politely just ask everyone to discuss those things elsewhere and not here unless you have a really funny joke. But even then, it's probably just lots to talk about House of the Dragon. Please just stay on target. Thank you, folks. You can find me on Twitter if you want to talk about the other stuff. Saba pipes in to say, said it last week, saying again, Daemon's experiencing confrontation technique in therapy. I use it all the time. It's working. So Alice's methods are certified here.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Making you confront all the terrible things you've done head on. And then we see like, no, Daemon's not a complete monster. He regrets it. There is compassion.
I started at the end accidentally. Sorry, guys. I'm not going to skip anybody. El Guapo, thank you. Not Nettles in morning clothes. Yep, okay, we read that one. To me, the two biggest standout scenes were Daemon coming to grips with his subconscious and Larys possibly genuinely connecting with Aegon's plight. There was a lot of good scenes to choose from, but those were both great. You have thoughts, Nettles?
No, I'm just thinking, I'm trying to remember Larys, because when he first started talking, I'm like, you're lying. But then, especially about the foot, I'm like, because I think that the foot might be an act.
This is what's great, though. You could read it either way.
Yeah. Because when he says he comes out with the foot all twisted and his father thought like there was some dark sorcery, your mind immediately goes to Alice Rivers, because we don't know if she was Lionel's bastard daughter or if she's even older than that and was like the milk nurse to Harwin and Larys when they were growing up. And it's like, that makes you think too of all the other witchy women and the twisted babies like Maegor the Cruel and Visenya and all of that. Like, it just draws your mind back to like, what if she had something to do with this?
Yeah.
And that's why
so
like
maybe
Larys
it might be real.
Yeah. Like, what if the thing that Larys fears most about Harrenhal is Alice Rivers, and that's why he doesn't want to go back there?
I was thinking maybe his leg might be real. Those tears touched me, like when he was crying about how people look at him.
So what I was trying to say a minute ago when I interrupted you, Nettles, I'm sorry, was that it's fun because you could believe either one. You could believe that Larys he's been lying about this thing so long that he's internalized the psychology, and he can sound completely genuine and be like, oh yeah, they're going to underestimate you. It's going to be your weakness and you can use that, or it's going to be your strength, this and that. And it's like, no, he is pathological. He could be, that could still all be a lie. Or
the best
it could be like a genuine moment.
The best lies have a little bit of truth in them. So maybe 3 out of the 4 things he said were lies, but something was the truth. And I think when he was having the connection with Aegon about they're going to stare at you, they're all going to question you, but your mind is sharp. Like, you got to keep your mind sharp. But you also kind of like get the thing, though, when Larys realizes, like, oh, God, your mind is the only thing you have left, and that wasn't very strong to begin with. So
he didn't say that last part.
He didn't say it, but the look was on his face. When he realized, like, oh God, but it's your mind. Damn, this is going to be even more work than I thought it was going to be.
See, Nettles, Tim has the advanced subtitles on it.
No.
It's got stuff that we don't see.
No.
Yeah, it was written all over Larys's face, like he had a moment of realizing, like, oh crap, I got to work with you, because Aemond is not giving him what he wants.
Yes.
Aemond has him read. Like yes. You see Larys is like, oh, you do me the honor. He's like, no, I'm not naming you Hand. You're going to go toe the line and get me my real hand, bring my granddaddy back. Otto Hightower rehired for a 3rd time.
Larys went running to Aegon after that. Like, immediately goes running. He's like, wake up, wake up, wake up.
Yeah, it's like, I can't. This one's too hard to work with. I can't trick him like all the others.
So that was my we don't do line of the week, but no, not you, not to serve, you toad. Like,
got him.
Oh, we've been waiting for someone to do this to the Varys and the Littlefingers of the Red Keep, and we finally found the man for the job. We're going to talk about Aemond's power politics. That's a whole scene. We're going to get into that, but calling Larys a toad was, somebody needed to do that. That was sweet. Especially because the whole... Well, I guess that's... All right, never mind. It nailed him. Okay, so Addam and Seasmoke BFFs. I neglected the other option, but it wins the poll. Over Daemon and Viserys. Close. That was a good one, though. And then, okay, so let's flip over back to the supers real quick here. Thank you, friends. Thank you, friends. That guy that got his arm got cut off had to be the shepherd. The shepherd is one-armed, isn't he? We can't talk about who he is because spoiler, but that might be a good eye there. Good eye.
Yeah.
Somebody called Rhaenyra. It's Rhaenyra, right? Rhaenyra is kind of dumb.
Rhaenyra.
No, Rhaenyra sounds hotter. That was pretty. That had some chemistry. I thought that was good. Loving how they're setting up Addam of Hull's arc. Yes, that's what we just did the poll on. Very good. Show us the kittens. Damn it, Tim. Where are the kittens?
Oh, where are they?
Jesus.
Oh, one of them's
been
here.
Like 15 minutes. 45 minutes. Whatever. I don't know. I'm not good at keeping track of time. They're coming. Thank you, Carolina. Who's this? Which one is this? Come on.
This is Dalton, the Red Kraken, who was mentioned this episode.
True, he was. So who is Dalton? He's the Greyjoy of the moment, right?
He's the Greyjoy. So he's been mentioned twice this season. So the Greens have offered him a role on the Small Council because they need a master of ships, because Corlys was the master of ships. The offer they give him is basically use the Iron Fleet to break the blockade. We will make you master of ships and admiral. And all we know of Dalton is that he's gotten the message, which is what they bring up today, but he hasn't answered. And that's because, I can't say too much, just that he's waiting to see what the other side has to offer before he makes a decision. That's where he's at now. I don't think we're going to see him until season 3, but he's fence sitting at the moment.
So they are doing a good job, I think, So it's a drama that is also a war show. Okay? So they are mostly still giving us character interactions. That's the guts of the show, just like Game of Thrones. But there's kind of even more war here. There was a lot of war in Game of Thrones. It was sort of fits and starts, but like they are doing a good job. This is my point of keeping us updated on stuff. Like they're constantly talking about the blockade so that we remember that this is a pressure that is being exerted because we're not really seeing it. And if they weren't, it would be easy to let that go. Like, for example, the Acolyte. I enjoyed the Acolyte, but it did this disjointed storytelling. And so it was sort of like they would mention something at the last minute that you're supposed to suddenly care about. And it's like, oh, you should have been reminding me of that for a few episodes so that we know and can appreciate the impact of it. So here, I don't know why I brought up Star Wars. It always sends things. Sorry. Anyways, here they're doing a good job of reminding us about the various things. And with the Stepstones, we spent so much time on the Stepstones that we understand what it means for Aemond to be inviting them back in. Be like, oh no, we'll just have them come and bust up the blockade. Like, we all appreciate how dangerous that is. That's people like the Crab Feeder. So
yeah, because it's after they say like Dalton Greyjoy is yet to answer. That's when Aemond says, okay, well, let's try the Triarchy. And that as a reminder of like, the Crab Feeder's dead, but we got to remember, like, the Crab Feeder just led the Mirish faction. There's still the Lyseni and the Tyroshi. Like, it points to that trident, I guess we could say. So they're still very much a threat.
Yeah, but at least we have the sense of, like, a new navy could really tip things. If an Ironborn fleet comes sailing from the west and decides to raid Old Town or sail to King's Landing, like, this could make a huge difference, especially if someone forgets about them. But the show's not forgot about them. So, all right. Well. Seasmoke, you my human now. Yeah, very cute. It was very, very, they're getting all us pet owners in the feels, both with the happy and the sad parts of the dragon human interaction. Replacing Nettles with Rhaenyra low-key feels like they're saying, yeah, brown girls are interchangeable. That's one of the unfortunate sort of, I mean, I'll leave people to read into that or whatever, but it, I see it more as a class issue myself, but there's a lot of angles to these characters are pretty complex. Like, I guess they're kind of saying both, if you want to say that. Like, they're kind of saying, oh, we could just swap out a lowborn character and put in a highborn character. Or it's kind of like, well, we've already got a lot of Black Dragon Riders, so why do we really need Nettles? I don't think that's what they said probably in the meeting, but I understand if people are kind of like rubbed the wrong way by that. I get that.
I don't know what Ryan Condal's what thinks is going to happen. He's going to get hounded at every single convention from now until the end of time if he does it. And deservedly so.
It feels like they did it just to give Rhaenyra something to do, which to me is not a good reason. Mm-hmm. Some people aren't chosen for greatness. Go ahead, Nettles.
No, I don't care. Just entertain me. That's all I care about. You know, so changes are fine. Just entertain me.
So Bill enjoys the trolling of Seasmoke. Like I said, oh yeah, you want to go ahead? Go ahead. No, it's safe. Go ahead.
Crazy.
What if she helps Nettles tame Sheep Stealer? I don't think that's what's being set up, but we'll see. I'm still hoping Rhaenyra discovers Nettles while hurting. Okay, well, we've got hope. I admire you guys. Don't stop believing. Like we said in the video this week. I'm so glad you liked the episode. I thought the dialogue would appeal to you. It sounded Shakespearean. Again, I'm still trying to stay positive about Nettles. I do 3 Nettles hopeful messages in a row. I love it. I love the Nettles optimism around here. We're going to keep those fires lit. It's a Stefan Darklin funeral attire. Okay? Screamed when we saw Patty. I thought it was interesting that they had him re-record the same speech. I guess let's go ahead and talk about this. Really skillfully done here. It's the same words, but it's now a lot more sadness than anger. So before it was mostly anger with a little bit of sadness, and now his head is in his hands. There's no Kingsguard.
He's instead of Blackfire as like a shield, he's like leaning on it like for support. I think that's what was happening. So they've changed the tone of the scene but used the same dialogue, and they've showed us like what these two characters are feeling behind all of their bluster and all of their posturing. It's like they're really a couple of sad boys that want to hug each other but can't for various like psychological reasons. What was your thought on that, Nettles and Tim?
That's a really good assessment. I really don't have much to add other than to just agree.
I interrupted you once. I'm just trying to like, do you want to
No,
talk
that's
now?
it. The parallels are really on point, even down to Blackfire. The difference between bearing steel before another lord and leaning on that sword for support, like that's deep.
And we saw there was a lot of sword symbolism. Aemond had Blackfire against the table while Alicent was scolding him about, your father this. And the people in King's Landing also talk about when Viserys was king. And then we saw Rhaenyra with the sword. And Mysaria is like, that becomes you, which we can now say was like, you look hot with the sword, which I concur. I like the dress and the sword. It was a very good look. But then Rhaenyra felt silly. And then she put the sword down. It's like she's not sure if she's Visenya or not. So I thought that was pretty well done. Tim, your thoughts?
Yeah, because from last episode when Rhaenyra was looking into the histories and looking at Visenya, and then Jace had the comment of like, well, I hope you aren't really taking from that. But now Mysaria is the other end of like, no, that looks hot. That looks cool. You should do that. So it does give Rhaenyra like this awkwardness of like, do I want to be like Visenya? Do I not? I don't know. My son doesn't like it, but she does, and I'm starting to like her. So I don't know. But it's great because there is that two-sided to everything, the two sides to Visenya, because yes, Visenya is very much a hero. Like Arya sees Visenya as a hero when she reads her histories, but Visenya was also the mother of Maegor the Cruel, and Visenya did cruel things and may have even played a hand in the death of Aenys. So it's like, what do you take from Visenya? Because like with most people, she wasn't, like with everyone, she wasn't perfect. There was good sides to her and bad sides to her, and it's how much of this are you going to take? Because sometimes when you try and build yourself up as like this person, and you want to do only the good things, sometimes you end up inadvertently bringing out the bad things that they did too, and now that comes to reflect you.
Yeah, I agreed with your thoughts earlier too. Just that I think this is now making more sense of it, and I was saying that in fairness, even as I was complaining a bit the last couple weeks that like probably they're gonna end up bringing it to a place that makes sense, and we'll just end up wringing our hands about how long it took or whatever. But
we're
or like how much time they go ahead.
I'm blanking on the dude's name, but the one she slapped in the face and then said, "It's my fault that you have not remembered to fear me." Like we're starting to see the darker Rhaenyra is coming to the surface. Like she's having those moments. They're bubbling.
Bartimus Celtigar.
The red-headed stepchild of Valyrians, the Celtigars. Like, go home and get your axe. That's all you're.
Yeah, why didn't they bring up the idea of him riding the dragon? He's Valyrian.
Because they're the red-headed stepchildren. Get your Valyrian steel axe. Because get your Kraken horn. That's all you're worth.
Can this be a poll? Like if that slap was okay?
Well, I'm running a poll right now. Should Rhaenyra trust Mysaria? I think we all approve of the slap. The slap was a long time coming.
Because I was like, yes. I'm like, yeah. And then I'm like, violence. And I thought about it and I was like, I'm cheering on violence. I'm like, am I a bad person for liking this? Do we want a ruler to slap people? Or should they solve everything with their words?
I think given the situation with Rhaenyra and the way they've been acting, I think that's pretty contextual for that society. Like that's pretty appropriate. It's the least that like Targaryen monarchs are known for tearing out tongues for disrespect. So, yeah. A Celtigar. Is Celtigar supposed to be with a hard C? I guess it would be. It's more likely to be
George
taken
said I
from.
could do whatever I want. George said I could do whatever I want.
That's I'm not correcting you, Nettles. That's for sure. Rhaenyra shouldn't have been so open with Mysaria. She just gave Mysaria the key to manipulate her. You want to be Daemon? Okay, I bet I know just what to say. Well, so that's kind of the question about should Rhaenyra trust Mysaria? Were they genuinely bonding, or was that Mysaria just manipulating her for power? You could believe either. I kind of read Mysaria as genuine, but she's telling you she doesn't trust nobody really. So I mean, yeah.
We did get confirmation about how she got her scar this episode, and we can put to bed that it wasn't Daemon who did it.
Well,
Who thought that Daemon did it? It wouldn't have healed that fast. What the heck? That's a long-term scar. But Tim, earlier you said that like this episode proved a lot of your videos right, and Dave, you made that joke that this is about your videos. Well, this episode was about my videos, and it's so many things that I've said. Like I've been hating on Mysaria, and this episode changed everything immediately. 180. I'm like so sympathetic to Mysaria. I've called her all types of like B's and WHHs in my past videos. All types of things. Dang, I'm so sorry, Mysaria. So I had to vote in this poll and say, should she trust Mysaria? Yes. Because if that story is true, I'm trusting. Like, I'm like Tyrion. I collect cripples and broken things because, like, people that have been through pain, like what Mysaria described, like, that messes you up so bad. Like, people who are wounded like that, I just trust them because they've known, like, the real monsters.
Yeah. I think that's why, like, if we have to make our comparison, because I know the show likes to throw bones and have characters to be comparable to the original show, so that show watchers, people who haven't read the book, can at least have a point of reference. Larys, again, he's now that he's Master Whisperers, the name makes you think Varys, but he's not so much Varys. He's more Littlefinger. Mysaria, I think, is showing more of that Varys ideal, because Varys, I think we can take Varys at his word about wanting the greater good. The problem with Varys is Varys wants his idea of what the greater good is, which is his pet project king. So I think that's what Mysaria, like, if we ask, does Mysaria really want what's best for the common people? Yes. But her methods of getting what's best for the common people are the things that are going to be called into question, which makes her more of the Varys parallel.
sorry, I had to burn. Great comments, Tim. I'm sure they were great. Yes, it's Bird. What did Tim say, Nettles? React.
No, we have super chats.
Okay.
Yeah,
The poll is really close. I love this. So, by the way, guys, this is helpful. If you have a good poll question, just throw it in the chat, tag me, and I can see it and just throw it right in here. It saves me from having to awkward type. Yeah, because like I said, Maynard Plum is under the weather. I do want to do Scene of the Week next. Actually, I want to do that real quick before we get back to the super chats, because otherwise we'll never get to it. And I want to give everybody a chance to vote for their scene, which I think the chat has a specific preference for a certain scene. But, Girl Nettles, what was your favorite scene?
Let's see. My favorite scene. Let me see what I wrote in my notes.
I will just say the small folk, their choice is very clearly.
I like
sorry.
the Alicent and Gwaine scene where we got all this type of information about Daemon, that he's 16, that he is good and he is kind, just like in the movie The Help. He's all those good things. You is good, you is kind. Because Alicent is still my nemesis, and that scene, even though it was like good and made you feel all the family-friendly feels, you saw Gwaine's eyes tearing up, it was still a diss to Alicent because it just shows that, like, this is what your kids could have become, but because of you, they turned out like Helena, Aemond, and Aegon. Like, and I always enjoy a diss to Alicent. But the acting was on point, the way it was filmed, the dialogue, that was great. And we got some Daemon lore. So he's 16 18, so he's Rob's age, so that shows me he could be a mover and shaker. This isn't a Joffrey, Rhaenyra's Joffrey. I mean, um, this is a capable guy.
So
Yeah.
I thought they did a good job, like I said, building characters in that scene, and I also thought they were showing us Alicent with a little too late. Like she said, "I'm sorry" to Aegon. She's trying to connect with Aemond, even though Aemond is coming at her and just trying to dismiss her. She's trying to cut through that and address his pain a little bit. So she's kind of having this. And she's also taking Helena. She's like, "Oh, let's go light a candle for Aegon." She's kind of doing some, "Oh, maybe I should like be a mother or something" stuff. You know.
She has nothing else to do, Dave. Don't
Yeah.
don't give her credit. She literally has nothing else to do. Otherwise, she would still be ignoring them. How
Well,
come
that's
she hasn't
fair.
asked about Daemon until then?
I'm just
Until
observing.
now.
I'm just observing.
She could have,
Um,
even if she says he doesn't write, she could have asked somebody, why isn't he writing? She never cared to ask until now.
I'm not saying she's doing a good job. I'm just saying it's a little bit of like flailing at the. It's very much too late,
I
like I
agree.
said. But yes, that was a great scene. So that's a good pick for the people to vote on. Tim, what was your scene of the week?
I actually have two, but but it's because they are a compare and contrast, so they kind of go hand in hand. So
Okay.
if you'll allow me to say them both.
Sure.
So that would be Daemon's dreams that involve Viserys, where I guess we can glean that the heir for a day line is what he said, because why else would Daemon dream about that if he didn't regret it? The whole thing, like, we all grieve on our own way. No, it looks like what he said, because Viserys says, like, when I needed you to be here, and you were out with your whores and your lick spittles, like celebrating your new position. So yeah, so heir for a day was definitely a thing. And then the scene where Viserys is with his wife, and Daemon hugs him and was saying, like, "I'm sorry, I wasn't there. You needed me to be there, and I wasn't." And it's always the thing, because when it comes to like the idea of Daemon, like, did Daemon want the throne? And it's like, no, because Daemon, as he was upset with Viserys and he thought Viserys was weak, but he never wanted to hurt Viserys. He never wanted to kill Viserys, which is what we see with Aemond and Aegon. And that takes me to the next scene, which is the Stephen King's Misery scene between Aemond and Aegon. And that is an original thought by me. Nobody else ever said it first to compare it to Misery. But,
Yeah. I think a lot of people did.
Anyway, yes, because Aemond fire blasted Aegon on purpose. And that was a question I had been asking myself, is like, when Aegon wakes up, is he going to remember what happened? And it seems like, yeah, he totally knows that Aemond did it, because he's afraid of him. And that's when, like, we see, like, and Aemond knows that he knows, and then he presses the king's ball, into his burnt chest, but then gives him, like, a little kiss on the forehead. It's like, my God, it's so horrifying. Like, and that is why Aegon has to go be like to Larys, like, "Help me." And Larys has like, "Oh God, I came for you to help me. Like, we're in this together now."
But to be clear, your pick is the Daemon and Viserys dream scenes.
Yeah, I'll go with the Daemon and Viserys dream scenes, but the second pick would be the Aemond visiting Aegon in his hospital bed.
It's a 2-for-1 brother duo. Like, it's both, right, Tim?
No. Okay, I will not allow this. I thought you were combining the two different Daemon and Viserys dreams, which are separate scenes already.
No,
you can't have more than.
I wanted to do a compare and contrast between Daemon and Aemond, because again, these are the things. Remember the whole hour-long phone call, Dave? This is what I've been building up to with the whole Macbeth thing: is the compare and contrast of Daemon and Aemond.
Tim will not cook. Tim's soup is overturned on the floor. This soup sucks. Just like
large.
What's his name said, off the white. This soup sucks.
Dang.
Hang on, I'm kidding, guys.
You're muted now.
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted.
Muted.
It was better. It was better. Those were all F-bombs. I just had to burn it off. It was an intentional mute. No, look. The comparison is great. I'm just saying we have to give the people
All right, fine. If I could only go with one, make
a
it
choice.
Daemon Viserys dreams.
Yeah. No soup for Tim. Soup's on the ground. Okay, so look. Also, that was going to be my pick. The other one that you were trying to hog. You were trying to hog all the good scenes under your thing. It's not allowed. The judges have overruled you. The judge being me.
Fine, you take the misery scene.
So look. In all seriousness, those are great. It is a great comparison, Tim. And my pick was just going to be the serial killer Aemond, because he did a couple serial killer things in consecutive scenes that were linked. Much like the two Daemon Viserys dream scenes that you have chosen, which I have allowed you to link together. We saw the small council meeting. Oh, sorry, what? Go ahead.
I said I am humbled that you allowed me to take both dreams.
You're not humbled. You're far from humbled.
I'm not.
And so the first serial killer move was the thing he did to the Lannister. I forget which one is which, but the Lannister in the small council, he comes up behind him with the hands on the seat and like talking behind, like that was so creepy and uncomfortable. Okay. Very uncomfortable. And then later obviously with Aegon, as was so excellently described by our friend Greyways Tim, the council ball, he was making a mockery of Aegon's authority. He's like, oh yeah, you're the king. Here's your little ball. You're totally still in charge. Have fun recovering. Like, that's a cold MFer right there, Aemond. So, yeah, I thought serial killer Aemond was really good. And there were some power politics in the way he was running that meeting. By visibly doing that to Alicent, he's showing people no one is comfortable, no one is safe. He's basically sacrificed, because Alicent could have been his ally. He could have made Alicent an ally. She has skills, but instead he kind of made her an example to show everyone, don't be comfortable. And it's a certain style of leadership that he is embracing.
Yeah, no one would think lesser of him if he was like, if he got rid of her in a nice way. If he said, "Mom, if he used like just a kinder voice, "Mom, you served your time well," and but he deliberately, like you said, made an example out of her to show everyone that like there's no hearts here. With Stone Cold Steve Austin, like it's brr, like that serial killer is the way to describe him.
But
I don't like it. Go ahead.
Another thing, though, with Aemond, though, is when they bring up, like, the people are starving, and his reaction was he just says, so what? Like, again, the whole idea, like, going back to last episode that I wasn't here for, the River Lords coming to Daemon at the Hour of the Wolf, which I'm with Gray Area on that. I think was a dream sequence because they accused him of things they should have no knowledge of. But it's like, we will not bow to a tyrant. And it's like, I think what the whole point of Daemon's like therapy sessions here in Harrenhal are, you can't be this tyrant that you want to be, because this is that's what your nephew is turning into, because your nephew has taken all the wrong lessons from you. So Aemond, this episode is really cementing that, like the way Aemond just casually brushes off the small folk. They're starving. So what? He is that tyrant that the River Lords are telling Daemon about. That is why Daemon needs to become a bit better of a person. He's not going to make a full 180. He's not going to become a white knight in shining armor. He's still going to have his rough edges. But Daemon is an anti-hero. He's the Vegeta of the story. Aemond is the one who's going full-on villain.
Yeah, I think that's a good distinguishment. I don't think that's a word.
Fine.
That's fine. That is a good delineation to draw. I like how Alice is doing sort of a Melisandre thing, where at first she's like the soothsayer. She's like, "Oh, just hang tight, and in 3 days' time the winds will change," as if she's reading the omens. And then it's like, no, she went over to River Rut and gave him oops the wrong herbs. oops, it's all cyanide capsules and a little too much sweet sleep something. And so yeah, that was funny because Melisandre does the same thing. She acts like she's reading the future, and she tries to, but sometimes she's making that stuff come true. So
Putting a little color in the smoke. Can I change mine to the Darkland Horror Show?
okay, sure.
Yes.
We'll
Yeah.
allow it, I guess. I shouldn't, though. I should slap you down, too. To be fair.
Chaos.
Darkland debacle. These are all good scenes. That was a gripping scene for sure. I knew what was going to happen because I've read the books, but even still, it was like, yeah, they raised the tension in that scene. Step down, girl. Oh, you see, I'm sorry. I need to give her treat. So I will put this to a vote real quick.
Okay, I'll take the time to show off my drip. So, this came from like a friend in the fandom. He's happens to be a jeweler. I'll put his handle in the chat on Instagram. You guys check his stuff out. But it is a sheep stealer ring. Look at the horn. And it has like these scales that move. I love it so much. It feels so comfortable. It's like one of those flexi grips. And like the thing about, in the books, they say that sheep stealers ugly, ugly brown dragon. They can't go up a moment without saying ugly. It's an ugly dragon. I'm like, okay, you said it once, that's fine. But like, it's because the color brown's supposed to be unremarkable. But this ring it's like every hue of brown. There's some with red that like fires up, and then there's detail even when you like turn it upside down.
Yeah, that's
Like
badass.
there's red. So yeah, he's a huge Song of Ice and Fire nerd too, and like I love it when people could marry a Song of Ice and Fire and their actual job, like because then it's like mastery of two worlds coming together to make something beautiful, and it could be a weapon.
So when people think brown looks nice, they say earth tones.
Yeah.
I love brown. I love brown colors. I wear all sorts of earth tones. Always have.
But you know how they talk about sheep stealer.
Yeah.
Muddy brown dragon, scrawny, ugly. No, I can't wait to see what they come up with for sheep stealer. Is he going to have some weird gnarly face or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's good that I got this ring because we saw like sheep stealer or felt its essence with the burnt field.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to be bronze because Vermithor is the bronze boy.
What's the difference? Yeah, metallic brown and bronze. I'm not sure. It's going to be, one's a little darker. But yeah, can't wait to see. So this poll is pretty, yeah, it's a good poll here. All dragons are beautiful. Thank you.
I know.
So there were some great scenes. I've got one.
Next thing you know, sorry, go. I just want to say my awful joke. So next thing you know, these dragons will be like doing BBLs, having plastic surgery because you guys are shaming them. You're gonna make.
They have yet to give us a chunky dragon, really. I mean, right? Nana's got some gullet stuff going on, some loose skin and stuff, but like, we don't really have like a fat dragon, do we?
No.
Those would be those road crew dragons you talk about.
They would be. Dragon lore thought. Okay, so I pointed out in my banned video, Rook's Rest Battle Breakdown. Banned! Too sexy for YouTube. I'm going to try to re-upload it after the season, guys, but HBO copyright struck it. Point is, what was the point? Shoot. Oh, yes, the squirter glands. Okay, so very logical answer to how do dragons breathe fire is squirter glands. HBO copyright claimed it because it had too much footage, I think. I'm not sure. Alt-Shift-X and other channels, nothing against him, but have special permission and can use as much footage as they want, and the rest of us can't. And it's some sort of two-tier system, and I'm in this tier and not this tier. So one day, anyways, point is, the squirter glands. How do you breathe fire? It doesn't come from nowhere. You need something to combust. So they squirt out a flammable liquid, they breathe fire, and then we get these gouts of flame. And I was talking about how, in my banned video, about how there'd be dragon spit. They would be sticky. And if you got dragon fire right in your face, it would stick to you. And that's kind of what we see with Quentin. I think that's kind of what he's like. His whole body, he keeps burning. Like, it's kind of, okay. So
napalm.
when they said that, go ahead.
I said napalm.
Yes,
Like
a little bit like that. And so when they said Vhagar's fires burn low, or like, oh, she'll be tired, or I forget what they said. That's kind of what they're talking about. Like, you run out of spit. Hawk tuh. That's what we're talking about. Like, the dragon, you can only shoot out so much of the flammable dragon spit, and after a while, you'd run out. You'd have to eat some sheep and chill. So I thought that was cool. I just delayed thought on the battle. Somebody pointed that out. Like, yeah, that's why they get tired or they run out of fire. So this is an interesting little wrinkle that they've added. The bigger the road crew dragon. So the point of a fat dragon is he's got a lot of spit. Big, fat, docile road crew dragon, very hot fires, can burn a lot. And so Balerion the Black Dread, when he roasted Harrenhal, that's a 112-year-old dragon. So he is not as old as Vhagar is currently, but probably a little bigger than Vhagar at the same age. So similar class, I would say. So I think that Vhagar is a drag. Yeah, but Paige Shelton called me out for being too sexual. It is. I'm sorry. I have crossed the line. Vhagar probably could burn a castle. But at a certain point, they do run out of dragon spit. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And I feel like it has been thrown. All right. So we'll let this poll cook a little longer, and we'll go back to the super chats.
Well, on that note, because I said napalm, because they did have another line that struck out to me this episode, because we know that, like we've talked about before, George was a conscientious objector during Vietnam. They said this line about it's hard to fight a war abroad when you can't keep. I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember the exact line, but fighting a war abroad is a lot harder when there's turmoil at home. And they're talking about like how we can't wage this war when the people in King's Landing are starving. But that struck me again, like about the Vietnam era. Why did we lose Vietnam? It's because of like a lot of the anti-war movement at home, while the soldiers were off abroad. And then that reminds me of like Gwaine Hightower having that line last episode, like it's a strange victory because it's like a Pyrrhic victory, and that's all anyone's really grasping here. I've also just been watching Aquarius a lot in my free time, so like a lot of this Vietnam stuff is very fresh in my mind. So that one just stuck out to me. You're muted. You're muted again.
I think they're doing a good job replicating the tone with which Martin talks about war. Like he does show you the valor, but obviously we get the feast for crows too. So like TV show's doing I would say a better job of Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones occasionally dipped into it just for shock value. This show is more consistently reinforcing the cost of this war on everyone, whether it's Kristen Cole or Gwaine, these highborn lords that are like, oh God, or the poor people or the soldiers or the dragon riders. We're getting everyone's emotion about it and the way it affects everyone. And that feels very authentic to the world. So I like that a lot. Reminiscent of Tyrion giving Jon advice with Larys talking to Aegon as far as like, oh, they're going to underestimate you and embrace who you are. Yes, good call. There was another echo with the food litany. Oh, they've got baked potatoes, and they've got lamb, and they've got capons, and reminded me of Crasters when they're starting the mutiny. He's like, oh, he's got food down there. He's got apples. He's got more sausages. He's got hams, lots of hams, and they sort of. They like work up this environment to where the mutiny happens, and it'd be the same thing. So that was a cool parallel. Larys being genuine to Aegon was not on the bingo card. We talked about that one. Some love for girl Nettles from Malika. Didn't Alicent get a cut on her arm during the food riots in a similar spot to the one she gave Rhaenyra in season 1? Yes, very good.
I saw that.
I also thought like she's probably thinking about the guy that just got his wrist chopped off. And she's like, oh, I got a cut on my arm. That guy just got his wrist chopped off. So there's a couple parallels going on there. That's a good observation. Toad line was the best of the episode. Yeah, hell yeah, Ian. We talked about that. Nettles' arc is the only Daemon relationship where he loves someone he doesn't want something from. Maybe. There's so many different... That's a real ink blot. The Nettles-Daemon relationship. We don't know if it was romantic or if that was his bastard daughter or...
It was romantic.
I think so.
You're not taking showers. Your dragons are screaming and well, whatever. That's crazy. I went too far. But
they do have queer customs, though. So
no. I do want to say though. I just thought of this. The way to distinguish the Lannister brothers is Tywin starts with Ty, like Tyrion, so he belongs on the council. And then Jason Lannister starts with JA, like Jamie, and he belongs in Casterly Rock. So that's where they are.
That's not going to work for me. It'd probably work for somebody else, but I already forgot that. So.
Oh my God.
My brain's like a sieve. I'm sorry. Rhaenyra, my Saria, is the Cersei Tanya we deserved, or Tanya Merryweather. Yeah, except I can't tell if my Saria is calculated as Tanya or if she is genuine. Well, that's the great thing about that poll question. It was pretty much a toss-up. Gifted memberships from Tiergare, thank you. Lannisters bringing lions to war. What was that? Was that just being ostentatious?
Yeah, that was Jason Lannister stroking his ego, let's just say, by bringing that lion in a cage. Yeah. It's like, this serves no practical use in combat. Like, are you going to set it loose? No. Is it trained?
No. You'd have to, if you could roll the open cage down a hill, like push it, open the cage and push it, and then just maybe, but no.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I guess that's the juxtapose, like Jason Lannister saying, like, we will march when we get Prince Aemond and Vhagar, and then that's when word comes back to Aemond, and Aemond has to get up behind Tyler. It's like, yeah, well, you tell your brother that this is what I say, and it's like, who's in charge here? And I think Jason Lannister does have that, like, kind of just stupid gumption about him that he would poke the dragon in its remaining eye.
This is this one that was proposed to Rhaenyra in such a haughty fashion all the way back when. So it does make me think of two things. One, Illyrio talking about the silly lords of Westeros, if you met a real lion. And then and actually Cersei and Jaime had a chance to touch a lion in a cage, and Cersei was brave enough to do it, and Jaime not. And the real thing I want to mention is that the children of the forest imply that the great lions of the West are a magical animal like the direwolves and the unicorns, which implies that ancient skin changers might have used to skin change lions. And we know Arya can skin change a cat, so why not? And if you think about skin changers riding lions in battle, that'd be pretty terrifying. So, that's Lannister's Warg Lions confirmed. That's what I'm trying to say. So, this poll looks like it is Daemon and Viserys' dream therapy. So, look, Tim, see, I helped you out. If you had put 4 choices in there, you wouldn't have won, and now you won. So, there you go. Rhaenyra Saria running second with 24. Serial killer Aemond 19. 4th place, and Darkland 21. So there's lots of good scenes. This was a very strong episode, I thought. Second best of the season after episode 2. Jason, the women would never be ready for battle in time. Lannister sure is taking his sweet time getting ready for battle. Very eager to embrace the comforts of the castle, lonk the lunk. Good call.
Very good.
So let's do one of these here things. What was this episode about?
I've got one.
You got it?
The title.
I'm claiming, like kind of embodying be a dragon. We saw Rhaenyra like claiming maybe her sexuality, maybe for the first time. Maybe that's her true nature. But she claimed something. She was a dragon. Hugh claimed his salad. He punched that man. He took that thing.
You got to go back to that. Yep.
Of course, Seasmoke claiming Addam, and then even Rhaena at the Vale, like that last look where she's like asking about the dragon, and she's thinking it's like, okay, time to go on the ship, and she has this look. Maybe that's the moment that she's claimed that Targaryen part in you, like that Targaryen fire that you need to claim a dragon. Like maybe she's claimed that part of her identity, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Daemon claimed the soft part of himself. Like we could go scene by scene and make that metaphor work. The idea of being a dragon.
Well, he reclaimed his relationship with his brother. Like he was absent and he
Hmm.
failed his brother, and now he's like, okay, I want to do that now. Because what people dream about is kind of what they want. And so before, Daemon is dreaming about other stuff that he wants, maybe to kill Rhaenyra, maybe he wants the throne, and now he's found the part of himself that wishes he could have been a better brother. So that's
Exactly.
yeah. So there's a lot of reclaiming parts of the identity. That's good. That's a good call. Well, how would you encapsulate it, Tim?
Well, the title of the episode is Small Folk, and this is our episode where we get more scenes with the small folk than we've ever had before. We have a lot of time with Hugh today. We had a lot of time with Wolf today. We had a lot of time with Addam and Alan. Since Corlys has yet to acknowledge them, they would still fall into the realm of common folk. Like they don't even have the bastard named Waters by not being acknowledged yet. And we see like the scenes of the chaos that's being sowed. Wolf is in the tavern, and that woman, I think it was the brothel madam, right? Yeah, talking about like, oh, they're having feasts in the Red Keep. Hugh the Hammer having a fight for his lettuce and carrots, like you said. But then like all the small folk running for the gates, the food riots, and Addam and Alan having their whole conversation, and then Rhaenyra coming to that conclusion, like realizing like, okay, well, this thing didn't work with Stefan Darkland. And she even says like, well, what do we do now? Like, do we extend the offer to other lords? Are they going to take the chance to, when word gets out of what happened to Sir Stefan, are other lords going to take the chance? And I think that's like the guiding push of like, well, maybe you need to open up to more than just lords. Maybe you need, like, which Massaria is really like trying to steer you towards, you need the small folk. The small folk are what are going to win you this war. And it's the small folk that Addam, Alan, Hugh, and Ulf are the class. That's what class they are currently in. So it's like Rhaenyra having to come with terms like, you might have to open up, we're going to have to open up more slots to more than just nobility here. This is an all hands on deck situation.
I just want to say, Tim, you said like the question of will people want to step up once they hear about Stefan Darkland? And the answer is Addam. Once they take a look at Addam's black
That Addam got one.
dreadlocks,
Yeah.
they're going to be like, well, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be that 50-50.
Yeah, so that goes in line right with last episode. Kristen Cole's mistake, parading the head of Melees through, and now the small folk are seeing it and saying, wait, we can kill these things? Well, now if word gets out that Addam, no last name, Addam of Hull, not even a recognized bastard, got a dragon, that's also going to be, might be the other thing to the small folk to say, like, well, hey, not only can we kill these things, not only can these things die, but this guy, who's a nobody, as far as they know, because Corlys is yet to acknowledge him, he just got a dragon, so maybe we can do that too. And that might be the push for why more commoners like Hugh and Ulf, I don't think it's a spoiler to say, like, it should be pretty obvious, like, we're not getting Hugh and Ulf introduced as characters for no good reason, why they might take the plunge and try.
Well, Tim, you're fired. I'm just gonna remove you from the stream here. No,
Look, I can only dumb myself down so
I know.
much.
No, it's
Some
fine.
things
It's
just
fine.
be
We already
obvious.
talked. I already spoiled that. I already said it. My Dragon Seeds video was a spoiler about it. Anyways, yeah, yeah. I think people are with it. You guys have both done a really good job. And so, Tim, you're making, when you talk about the small folk, like even what they're doing with the dragons this episode is a commentary on the small folk, because they're talking about who's got the blood, who's royal and who's not, and they're showing us somebody more humble claiming a dragon, whereas this Knight of the King's Guard and royal blooded of House of Darkland with Targaryen blood, he failed. So this is all kind of a class commentary.
And
I
the
guess.
sheep. like showing the difference, like watching the sheep go by, knowing that like you're starving and it's going to the dragons. So it's the juxtaposition of dragons versus small folk type, just
So they
adding to
saw,
it.
yeah, they did something there with like last week they put the dragon's head through and they're like, meat, it's just meat. And now they're bringing the sheep through and they're like, where's our meat? So they're just sort of, it's all about the meat. You know, everyone's hungry. I don't, so sometimes with the what this episode was about thing, it's sometimes there's different options. Sometimes there's not. Like, I don't really have something that's different than those two. I think that's what the episode was about. I think it was about the small folk, and I think it was about people claiming parts of their identity and claiming power, claiming inheritance, claiming a stake through things. So I think this is well diagnosed by the two of you, and I think we could just move on. So
Yeah. Oh, also Hugh claimed the dog.
he did. So I'm on such a roller coaster with this guy. Okay, when he pet the dog, I was like, he can't be any better of a person. And then he slugged that person and took their food, and I was like, okay, slow down, comrade. But I mean, real talk, everyone's hungry. And I think like last week, his wife was like, oh, you got to do what you got to do. And he's like, no. And now he's kind of like, yeah, kind of you do. Yeah, I guess. What was your guys' thoughts on Hugh petting? He didn't claim he pet the dog at least. But then he did. He totally decked that guy and took his cabbage. So what do we think?
Oh, just similar thoughts. That we're showing that how desperate he could be. Like the sweet guy that pets the dog is also driven to desperation, thinking about his daughter. Could be driven to. The scene reminded me of the toilet paper riots we had in the United States circa 2020 during the pandemic. How people were slugging each other over toilet paper, and you didn't see all those viral videos. Please, it was only 4 years ago, but it was that level of desperation.
There you go. I'm not going to worry about the wording. There's your poll.
Yeah.
The question is, what would you do, essentially? If in that situation specifically, you might be able to get food if you keep looking, but that guy's got a sack of food and he's right there and he's not as big as you are. So are you going to punch him and take the food, or are you going to be like, oh, I got to go look for my sack of food? That's the question.
I voted yes. If it's just me alone, I'm not going to do that, but I have a daughter who's pale and paler, so we're going to tussle.
Class solidarity says no. Class solidarity says we don't do that. We don't turn on each other. But yeah, so Comrade Hugh's fallen down on the socialist principles there.
Yeah.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease. My daughter, I told you my daughter's pale, so she's more important than you, healthy person. Get out of my way. Get out of my way.
So it looks like if our chat was the populace of King's Landing, we would have a riot. 2/3 of you guys would start punching each other and taking each other's cabbage. I'm disappointed. I am. I expected better of you guys. What about his sick kids? Okay, so we riot then. If we start rioting, a lot of people are going to get hurt, and a lot of people aren't going to get fed. Maybe just take a minute.
How do we know the guy he punched out doesn't have a sick kid of his own back at his house?
Too bad.
Ah,
He didn't want to save his kid that bad then. I would have
maybe
never.
he wasn't as strong as Hard Hugh Hammer.
But
That's
that
on
goes.
you. You should have worked out.
But that goes back to like what I had said before about like how desperate will you be? Will you be willing to do other things to try and get a leg up?
Because here's the thing, though. That's a great point, Tim. This is this is the Game of Thrones for the small folk here. This is the same thing. It's like, are we just going to go with might makes right? Whoever's the strongest takes it, because that's what the High Lords of the Dragons are doing. So,
I just want to clarify when I
what
say
cat is
that
that, Tim? Cat report.
Oh, this is Cassie. She's not one of the kittens, but she's been mothering the kittens.
Cassiopeia.
Casilda.
Casilda. Okay.
Yeah, that's King and Yellow character.
I just want to clarify. When I say that, like, oh, he has a kid at home, that doesn't mean that he deserves. We're not playing like Oppression Olympics. What I mean is that because he has a kid at home, the fire inside of him to survive and to
Mhm.
fight is going to be is going to burn brighter than someone who's like, oh, it's just me. I'm not even that hungry. I did eat yesterday, like someone like
Yeah.
that. And so that's why when it comes to two guys who are fighting for their sick daughter, whoever wants it more is the one that's going to win, because that's how much you love that person that you're fighting
Yeah.
for. That's why
Yeah. There was.
Sam, the Slayer, becomes the Slayer, because when it's just him, he's peeing on himself. But when he has to fight for Gilly, he's killing walkers.
Mhm. Yeah, because like there was
You know, that's
probably a
I never
adrenaline
thought about that.
behind
I'm
that
sorry,
punch he
Tim.
threw.
I just had to go ahead.
I was saying like one, I think there was adrenaline behind that punch he threw, which comes from the desperation of your daughter. But then there's also that Ned line of like when Bran asks Ned, "How can you be brave when you're afraid?" And Ned says, "I think that's the only time a man can truly be brave." And Hugh is in that position because it's like, I need this food. I am desperate. My kid, his life is on the line. I need it more than you. I need those carrots. Like that's that at the end of the day, he needed those carrots more.
I've scolded the chat into 63%, 37% for class solidarity. I am a little, I have to say, a little disappointed. I thought Comrade Hugh Hammer and Sickle was all class consciousness, but hey man, he's got a sick kid. Sorry. Maybe he knew that guy, and that guy owed him money for the horseshoes from last week, and so hey, I was like, hey, I'm taking your food now. So he's still a good guy. He pet the dog.
He pet the dog.
All right, that was a fun poll. We're
Did you
doing
want to
good
say
on-
something about Sam the Slayer, Dave?
Yeah, I was just, it never occurred to me. It's very obvious when you say it, but like, yeah, when he's not actually in the moment, he's petrified of everything. And even trying to get the ravens away, like he kind of fumbles that pretty bad at the fist. But you're totally right. He is like a knight in shining armor from a long time ago when Gilly's in danger. You're totally right. That's pretty funny. All right. So let's flip back over. That was fun. Let's go back over to the super chats.
Ooh, baby.
You guys are keeping us dancing here. Thank you. Let's mow through some of these. If I'm not mistaken, in Fire and Blood, don't Daemon and spoilers. Spoilers. Last season,
We
my
love
sorry.
it.
Thank
We
you
love
for
you,
this.
though.
Was that?
I was just saying, we love you, though.
I will just say very quickly that Targaryens are amorous and polyamorous and stuff. That this checks out. Also, during wartime, stresses are high. People get horny, so I have no problem believing that scene.
Thruple? Is that the
Shouldn't
future?
trust her, but I encourage it. That's the right attitude for this whole show. Love You 3. What would you rate the kiss scene out of 10? I think that was at least 8.5 out of 10. It seemed pretty like there was genuine chemistry there. A lot more chemistry than John and Danny had. Wow.
There was no lip biting, so I'm going to give it a 3.
3. Okay, Tim. I'll have to watch it again, in fairness.
Yeah, I'll give it an 8, but if it leads to a thruple, then I'll raise it to a 10. When Daemon comes home.
I like the hug into the slow necking thing. That was
Okay.
okay. That's more detail than I wanted. David Lightbringer, she said. Okay. Dragon Flying 007. Why didn't Rhaenyra tell Jace about her plan? Yeah, he was pissed about that. Him and Rhaenyra had this good rapport going, and it turned sour as soon as he was like, "Oh, you're making plans without me, Mom."
No, but Jace needs to chill out. He needs to stay in a child's place for a second, because he's too much in her business. At first, I was like, it's kind of like Lyanna Mormont. At first, you're like, yeah, speak up, kid. And then you're like, okay, be quiet. Like,
I think he's doing pretty well. I like how they're writing the character. Like, at times, he's pretty solid. At other times, he's like inexperienced and kind of rash. And even Rhaenyra did the rash thing, jumping on her dragon at the end of the episode, just like she did when she was young. So, yeah, finally, Rhaenyra doing stuff, slapping people and riding her dragon and sending Lord Darkland to be burned. Just doing stuff. It's good. Predictions for next week's Dragon Seed sowing.
They're just predictions. They can't be spoilers.
Yeah, it's
You're
hard.
just-
We've all read Fire and Blood. It's hard to make predictions. Sometimes you can have like the small ones, like in how something will go, but it's probably just not. It's too fraught for people who know the story to try to make predictions. But I really like how it's going, and I'm very excited to see more Dragon Seed trying to claim dragon stuff next week. I like everything they did this week. Tim, overall, what was your? Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, like, so now, because we have the problem of how are the candidates going to get to Dragonstone?
No, you can't walk.
Yeah, they can't walk across water. So I'm like, maybe those boats that they ship the food in are going to go back loaded up with people to try to take their shot at it when like the message gets out, like, hey, this is open to all parties, not like highborn, lowborn, everyone who wants to take a crack at this, get your asses to Dragonstone and you can have a shot.
We've seen shots of some sort of decree being nailed around everywhere. So I have thought that was going to have something to do with trying to find dragon riders, but it could be propaganda battle between the two sides too. So
I think a safe answer is Rhaenyra, since we saw like little sheep stealer tease. So she could be that's my answer to that super chat is, I think it's safe.
We saw Stormcloud too, little baby dragon.
Little Stormcloud.
And he crawled under the bed like a cat. My cat carrier comparison is apt now because Stormcloud went under the bed like a cat.
I love the little dragon sort of just hanging around on the floor and like a pet.
Baby
that was cool.
Dragon.
Little Stormcloud. Can we all agree Tom is doing so good? Aegon's barely coherent, yet he's still really interesting and sympathetic-ish. Okay, so for me, when we saw the still of Aemond and Aegon, this is exactly what I expected. When Aemond got close, I expected Aegon to be like, get him away from me, and he totally did that. The hands gripping the sheet, the rigid body language, like you felt the claustrophobic terror of someone being taunted by their own would-be killer. Like 10 out of 10 horror vibes there, misery vibes, etc., etc. Even the shots I think actually I have only seen Misery once, but the shot of Aegon's view looking down the bed at Aemond standing at the foot of the bed, that was almost like a Misery shot, I felt like.
Yeah. He may as well have had a sledgehammer in his hands, like ready to knock that leg back apart.
If only Orwell had gotten there like a minute sooner.
I was a little concerned that Aemond was going to be, they're making him kind of two-dimensional and cartoonish, but he really was menacing this episode. Go ahead, Nettles.
No, that's it.
So for me, it was the confirmation that Aegon knew, because that was my big question: is Aegon going to wake up not remembering what happened? But it's like, no, he knows what Aemond did, and Aemond knows that he knows, and that makes it so much scarier. Like,
Aegon's like, oh no, I don't remember anything. Definitely not.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I forgot it all. Like, he's terrified. Oh my God, that was terrifying. Like, he's not looking at Aemond as his brother at all. He's just like, this is a psycho. This guy wants to end me.
This is the person who tried to kill me. Yeah.
Aemond is doing a lot of interesting stuff. He's like, what do you remember? You don't remember anything, do you? He's like, oh no. And then he's like, Orwell, he's like, oh, it's going to be a long recovery, isn't it? You better make him comfortable with the milk of the poppy to answer somebody else's question. Yes, that was Aemond giving Orwell a little bit of a suggestion. And we see Orwell's like, yeah, it's probably going to take a long time for him to recover. So I think he's got the message. Orwell seems to be a good dude, but he can't stand up to Aemond. So
no one can.
No. Gus Mulder, very cool. Dragon Keepers carry a suicide knife for obvious reasons, right? Mm-hmm. Burning alive sucks and takes a minute.
More lore.
So, suicide knives. Yeah, the one guy couldn't get to it. The one guy could. That was kind of intense.
Woo!
Yeah, I don't know. How much did they pay those guys? Not enough. Not enough.
Not enough.
Bloodworm BBL. Yeah, we're asking for a fat dragon.
That, facelift. Y'all are making these poor dragons insecure.
Watch Cannibal be the large dragon. We'll see. What do you think of the show putting the food riots on Team Green instead of Team Black? I would say be patient. There's time for more than one food riots in the story. I think what they are doing is introducing more small folk perspective earlier, so that everything that's going to come in the future will be more poignant for there having been more focus on all this stuff now. So I don't think this is a part of whitewashing one side in favor of the other. I think there will be plenty of riots. And Team Black instigated the riots anyway on purpose. Like, this is part of what they're trying to do. Go ahead, Nettles.
I was gonna say, I'm not sure if this is the correct use of the term ironic right now, but it's the fact that the reason they don't have the food is because of Rhaenyra's blockade. So they say, even though I don't know what's going on in the land over here, but whatever, they're saying they don't have food because of the blockade. So it's ironic that they're like, oh, Rhaenyra's the only one that cares about us. She sent us food, but it's like, she's the reason you don't have food. But then in Rhaenyra's defense, I think the townspeople know, the small folk know that blockades are normal. Like, that's the first act of war. That's like, 101. But they also recently have seen Aemond close them in. It's one thing if they don't have food, you could always leave. How many of us have left our hometowns? Like, you could always leave, but they've blocked them in there. So the person that's really to blame is the person that has like annihilated your ability to travel.
So the thought occurred to me that, like, it's almost kind of a burden in a war, and we saw this with Daenerys in Slaver's Bay, to have a lot of civilians to care for. The Lannisters did this with the Tullys, because they're like, oh, the Tullys, they'll take care of all these mouths to feed. We'll drive them in, and then they won't be able to stand the siege as long. Okay, so there are ways to use the small folk like that against people. And so we see with the Greens, it's almost like whoever's in charge in King's Landing, it's an extra burden, because you've got during a war, everything's going to get rough. There's going to be less food and less money. And who they're going to blame? They're going to blame the person in charge. It's kind of like, never mind, I won't make a political analogy, but imagine you were a president and you were taking over right as a recession was kicking in. You'd be blamed for it, even though it maybe necessarily wasn't your fault. So some of the stuff obviously is Aemon's fault, but at the same time, they're also the ones in charge of King's Landing. And should Rhaenyra be in charge of King's Landing during the war, she'll have the same problems to wrestle with. So I think that's what they're showing us. Let's talk about this propaganda in the tavern. So we saw Diana is Aegon's assault victim. We know her. Who was the other woman? Was that Aemon's?
Yep. His mama. His mommy.
I don't know the right word, but yes. And then what about the person that Rhaenyra sent, her handmaids, sent to King's Landing to sow chaos? Was she in there too?
No, we did not.
Go ahead.
Alinda,
yeah. We didn't see Alinda today, but she is in the preview for next week's episode.
She's just a handmaiden, but I've seen her at first. I feel like I saw her in season 1 working for the Greens, and that she was the person that lit the candle that told Massaria when the king had died. I'm not sure, but so now she's over here working at Rhaenyra's side once Massaria went over. That's what it's, I think.
So I love how they're making use of these characters. So like these little side characters. It's like, oh wait, that's the same person. We're supposed to notice this stuff. So yeah, it's some pretty good storytelling there, I feel like, with the minor characters. Wild theory for you all. Oh man, I can't read this. It's too blurry. What does it say? Oh, Alice Rivers is a rogue child of the forest and is grooming Daemon to be the Night King. No. The thing is, here's the thing. In all seriousness, I only deal with book theories. Really, like with the show theories, you can do good stuff if you're working in a contained, like a question that is posed in episode 2 of one season might be answered later that season. Sure.
Yeah.
This show is not setting up Daemon to be the Night King from Game of Thrones. Like, that's not how I don't think the show is working. So, now in book canon, I just did a whole stream with Michael's talks about stuff about Alice Rivers. There's lots of possibilities. She could be a Child of the Forest hybrid. She could be a Green Seer. She could just be some kind of nebulous woods witch. There's all sorts of very plausible theories to entertain there, and the Child of the Forest is part of it. But yeah, the Night Kings. The thing is, even just working with the show's canon, which again you should not attempt to do. Spirals. We saw who the Night King was. It was some guy tied to a tree that got turned into the Night King. That wasn't Daemon. He wasn't a Valerian-looking dude. So they could have explained who that was. An ancient Stark, Bran the Builder's jealous brother. They didn't do that. So we're never going to know who that was. And the Night King's not going to be someone else. He was that guy, and that guy was a nobody. So that's that. Can't fire Tim or the swear jar goes. Oh, he's not really fired. I just got to put him in check sometimes. Or
You can't contain me.
I know, it's just for comedic effect, Tim. It just makes you stronger.
You can't handle my girth.
Oh, I can't. Kimberly LaFay, who is the Black Alley on the Green Council? Who is the Black Alley on the Green Council? Someone somewhat obvious Larys or the Lannister twins who demand Aemond and Nana abandon King's Land. I'm not... Oh, the Black Ally. I was thinking of... There's a...
I was with you.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
There's a Black Ally Blackwood. Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
Okay. Who is the Black Ally? Team Black Ally. So many ways to use black in this show. It's confusing. Team Black, Blackwoods. Who is the
It's because Daemon said in a previous episode, way back when he was still on Dragonstone, that he has an ally in the council. And so the fandom has been trying to guess who is...
Who the mole is. Yeah.
Well, I did notice Jasper Wilde had a little smirk when Aemond put Larys in his place and called him a toad. Did you catch that? He was just like...
Yeah. He was like, mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's only a few people on the council, so I guess it could be him. What do you make of Helena's crickets? She said one of them went silent.
Yeah.
What was that about? I'm not sure. I tried to think of what that could parallel, but I wasn't sure.
Alicent was the easy answer because the scene before that was her getting fired by her son. Not only am I going to embarrass you in the council, Mom, why don't you stay behind? I have some more embarrassment for you. Everything she did, she touched his cheeks. He's like, eh. In the council, he shut her down, eh. And so, like, maybe that's, like, finally the nail in the coffin and the silence thing of Alicent.
So are the caged singing crickets, are those, like, the women in the story? Because Rhaenyra and Alicent, or Rhaenys and Alicent were talking about making a window to your cage and stuff like that. And they're in the carriage. They're traveling around. They're traveling around in the little bug cage. Helena and Alicent. Right after, that's it. That's got to be it.
Could be. We'll see. Next episode, there might be something where they use the words silent, and we're like,
no, I just saw this. Helena's Crickets Explained. It's coming this week. That's it. I'm serious, though. They showed them in the cage. And I'm just building on what you said. Alicent is the one who stopped singing. She lost her voice.
For real this time.
Ooh.
This is why you tune into this David Lightbringer channel with Grey Waste Tim and Girl Nettles.
Crickets go quiet when air pressure drops, like before a storm. Ooh, yeah, the hurly-burly. Yeah, because I have a thought on what it means, but I can't say it. Even though it relates to a line from book 1, I still can't say it because it would spoil the end. Well, I'll have to just tell you, Dave, in the after show. Yeah.
No, right on.
Song. Yeah,
the
dude.
Aftercook with Tim.
No, I can't say it. Too many people have already said I've made too many spoilers, even though I feel my spoilers are just pointing out the obvious. I'm sorry, I can't. Some people are just slow, and I can't deal with that. But this one I know is a spoiler if I say.
Don't forget the metaphor of a song of ice and fire and, like, songs and, like, crickets singing and being silenced.
Yeah, because there's a metaphor. I'll just say, okay, people who've read the book, the last line.
Tim,
book one.
Tim, putting your face off screen doesn't make it not a spoiler. That doesn't hide the spoiler.
The last line in book one. The last line, Dany's last chapter.
Daemon's Viserys' dream had the dragon singing also in season 1, so they are working with that. Okay, so let's do loser of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think Mysari is a class traitor for kissing a noble, or is it worth it since she can manipulate Rhaenyra to be better for the small folk? I like the way you think. No, I don't think kissing is a class trait. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I say Aegon for loser of the week because we saw him talking, like getting up. He was able to say, "No, I don't remember anything," clear sentence. And then I feel like he let Aemond bully him back to like, I'm a vegetable. I'm sleeping 9 hours out of 10 and stuff. Like he was getting stronger. Orwell was like, dang, I thought he was going to die, but he's strong. So Aegon has that fire. I think Sunfire chose him for a reason. He has that fire strength to live, but he let Aemond burn it out of him. So he's a loser. But at least he did ask Larys for help. But I just saw him kind of like getting better and then getting worse. So I don't,
I'd say waking up from a short coma in which you got dragon roasted and your situation is that the guy who tried to kill you is now in charge and can torment you at will is pretty bad. That's a pretty bad situation. Also, you're laid up like this and you're burned and you got one eye open and like, yeah, it's pretty, he's having a hard time. The obvious answer, of course, would be Stefan Darklin. I'll go ahead and put him on there.
Toaster strudel.
I honestly though, I do kind of mean this for this question to be a main character question. You can always find a side character that died or something, but I mean, he's fairly important. He tried to ride the dragon. It did not. He definitely lost. Allison, everyone's saying Allison in the chat. She obviously, we just talked about her. Tim, what's your answer?
The guy Hugh punched.
Who?
The guy that Hugh knocked out.
Okay.
He doesn't have a name, but the guy who got his carrots. The guy who was just laid out for some carrots.
Call him the DoorDasher. The DoorDasher.
Yeah, the poor DoorDash guy. He ain't getting a tip.
Hugh, listen. It's definitely bad class solidarity to mistreat your DoorDasher, especially to punch him. So, disappointed. And the small folk, I'm going to go ahead and just put Allison here as a choice.
Yeah.
Because it feels like what people want to vote about. So, oh, I'm sorry. I have neglected you. You're right.
Salad fingers. Do you guys
Is that
remember
what
salad
we
fingers?
call them salad fingers?
Do you remember salad fingers? That's a long time ago. Internet. That's Tumblr.
Rusty spoons. Jesus.
My B key's janky. Sorry.
The guy who lost his arm.
Oh, yeah, that guy had a bad day.
Well, why are you touching people for? I don't feel sorry for people like that. You're looking for trouble.
Yeah. Oh, if we're just going with side characters, then that the Kingsguard who got mobbed rush and everyone went, the one to get down on the ground.
Estamont. I think they said Estamont. Rip the turtle. Rest in peace, Lord Turtle. Sir Turtle.
I just voted for cabbages. Why not?
I honestly, when I saw him laying on the ground, I really did think they were gonna like tear him apart. I was wondering if they were gonna go there.
Yeah, like the Septon.
Meat. I kind of liked how the first guy that found the boat had this long moment of like, he didn't just eat the food. He looked at it. It was just like contemplating. He's like,
is this a dream?
Is this real? Also, what do I do? Do I scream out, hey, everybody, here's food? Do I try to smuggle this? And then you see all these other boats. And it's just very surreal. They captured that surreal feeling of like, we're all starving. Here's a bunch of food. Is this even real? What do I do? Is there about to be a riot? Like, it was very tense.
You could literally picture, you could almost picture the angel and the devil popping up on his shoulder, like, you need to tell people, you need to go. And the devil be like, no, take it all. Don't even tell that guy behind you. In fact, kill him. Don't let him see it.
Yeah. The fake poll question: would you have kept an entire boat for yourself?
Yes, I would.
So we've got
Yes, I would.
35 for Stefan, 32 for Allison, 20 for Cabbage's Guy, and 13 for Aegon. Aegon is still around, but I don't know. He's a pretty rough situation. I wouldn't want to be in his situation. I wouldn't want to be punched by Hugh Hammer for my cabbages either. Would
But
you
also
resort
to
to
learn-
cannibalism? That's the real poll
Do
question,
you
he
think he'll
says.
be able to ride his dragon? Because Larys was saying you won't be able to run again. You will never, like, what are the extent of his injuries?
Special
He
Tyrion
needs that-
saddle.
He needs that special saddle.
You got it. So we're going to let this poll run here. Let's flip back over to the fan funding, as they call it. Fan funding. Think about us more as a community. But I want to give Elora Torchia her flowers. I think she's crushing it as Mrs. Hammer. Oh, her emotions are so raw and real in every scene. Yeah. That is the actor's name, apparently. But yeah, definitely agree with that. It's going to be awful when she dies and sends Hugh on his villain path. I'm concerned, and that's not I'm just guessing. I don't know that because this character is not in the books. I'm
We don't
concerned
even
that
know.
Sheep Stealer is in the Vale and Rhaenyra is going to fill Nettles' role. We are all concerned about that. We will remember both Nettles and Sheep Stealer here on this channel. How does dragon claiming work? Valyrian blood, meaning Celtigars and Velaryons can claim. Oh, thanks for reminding me. What about Addam? Okay, so Celtigars should not be able to claim Targaryen dragons if my theory is correct. My theory about the dragons it's a family line bonding thing. And so the Targaryen dragons, and this could be just a tendency, more like can or can't, like maybe they prefer, of like a Targaryen related person, but the Celtigars are Valyrian. They're a different Valyrian family. So the Darkland in this case, and I don't know if this is true or not in the books, but what they're saying is that Darkland's grandmother's grandmother was a Targaryen. So he has Targaryen blood. So he had a chance with the Targaryen dragon. Now, Addam is a Velaryon, and he is Corlys's bastard son. So he's not Rhaenys's. Addam is not Rhaenys's kid. Okay? So Corlys has silver hair because he is Velaryon, and the Velaryons are Valyrian, but not dragon lords. Here's the thing. I think this is the main thing that people need to understand. Before the conquest, the Velaryons and the Targaryens intermarried multiple times both ways, which means that Targaryen women married Velaryon men. And so the mother of the conquerors was a Velaryon. She was half Targaryen on her mother's side, which means her mom was a Targaryen princess that married her Velaryon father. Okay? So all the Velaryons have Targaryen blood, and that is how Addam is able to claim Seasmoke, even though Addam is not Rhaenys' kid and not Laenor's kid, which would be Rhaenys' grandkid. So that is my answer. Do either of you have anything different to add to that?
Same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just there's been so many Targaryen Velaryon intermarriages, and then I said too before. Also, Addam is technically Laenor's half brother, so he might just feel familiar to Seasmoke.
And I think that the main thing we're supposed to understand is that the dragons are not slaves. They have a choice, and some of it's magical and mysterious. So Seasmoke likes Addam, and that's it. It's a mystery.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when you go to the pet store and one of the cats runs up to the front of the cage. It's just like, and you're like, oh, that's my cat.
Yeah.
That's how
It's
I
like
got
when-
Cleo. Cleo did that to us.
For me, it would be like when I dog sit my brother's dogs. They're not my dogs, but when they come over to visit, they feel just as home here as they do back at their real home. Like, there's just a familiarity.
Can I answer this super chat, Steve Owen?
Mm-hmm.
It says, why did Seasmoke choose Adam? There's like this guy online called like David Lightbringer, and he has this theory about dragons. Um, being able to give Targaryens visions. No, but basically, kind of going off your theory, I kind of believe that maybe, okay, dragons are supposed to be smarter than humans. Like, how are they smarter than us? That makes me think that they can maybe see the future. Maybe, I don't know if it's glimpses, I don't know if it's everything. Like, I feel like they're going to be equal to the trees, and like how trees, their timeline is a circle. Maybe dragons have a hive mind where everything was recorded for them, like a fire mirror to the old gods things. But anyways, if Seasmoke could see the future, well, he knows that he has to go ahead and link with Adam. And the reason I'm thinking that is because of how it was like a mission. Seasmoke, it was like he was looking for him over the water. Boom, saw him, made like a dive, a direct dive to him. Like he was the target. I
Yeah.
have to get to him. Like it wasn't like I'm looking for someone. It's like this is the guy. So I feel like Seasmoke, why did he claim Adam? Because he saw the future.
Yeah, that's a great point because it builds on my theory, and that's awesome. But yes, obviously, if the dragons are psychic at all, then it makes sense that they might choose. They might have a premonition or an inkling. They don't know the whole future, but they have some instinct. Oh, this is what's meant to be. And then also, we saw this is why Stefan didn't have a chance. Seasmoke was already looking for Adam. He was already flying around Adam for 2 episodes. So he already had a boyfriend. And poor Stefan didn't know that. And so he hit on the wrong person. And the wrong dragon person. That didn't work out. But yeah, that's Seasmoke was already looking for Adam.
He DM'd him, but Adam didn't. You know how you have to, some DMs you have to go in the hidden folder to see that someone wrote you? So he didn't see it.
He didn't see it. It was on. Yeah. I'm so sorry. I would have answered. I didn't see them. I swear. I bet Corlys has a type and Adam's mom is a Targ. In the books, that is not the case. Marilda of Hull is who that is, and she is not a Targ. But yeah, I don't think they'll change that or need to change that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, no, not live chat. Fan funding.
Because they haven't shown their mother yet, and I'm not sure if they will bring her on here.
That's a good question if they will. In the house
But
the dragons built. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, though, but given that she lives on Driftmark, there's possibility she could be a dragon seed, too. Like, just because we don't know the direct family tree doesn't mean that, like, everyone could be discounted. It's like, not every person in this entire family from the time that Dany's the Dreamer came up over here is going to be accounted for. Sometimes we just have to fill in some blanks.
No, Rhaenyra's got Ancestry.com in those scrolls. She just opens it right up and your grandmother. I love that. I love that.
Is that 1/16 or 1/8?
I don't know. None of these Targaryens have nearly as much. This is the thing I meant to say. It's magic. And its magic doesn't mean it doesn't make sense. It means that 1 drop of magic blood is enough because it's magic.
It's a dominant trait. It's not a recessive trait.
If you you either have the magic or you don't. Yeah. That seems to be the thing.
Your 1/16th Cherokee? Well, what are you checking on your college application?
Another political joke that I almost made and didn't. Are we caught up, or did I feel like I skipped? No. I think we are caught up. Very good. It's bound to happen sooner or later. Thanks, guys. We do appreciate all the questions. This was a very interesting... We're not done. I'm just saying. Thank you for all the super chats. Yeah. So let's talk about who won the episode acting-wise. Good girl, Nettles. Sorry, that was my typo. Oh, let's check on our poll. Stefan Darkland, loser of the week. He pulled ahead in the end, but there was that's a good poll, good showing there. Thanks, guys. 400 votes. What if they brought up a different dragon? Would Stefan have bonded then? No, No, he was.
Maybe.
You can't tiptoe up to the dragon. Show no fear. Dominant pack leader. You got to like saunter up. You got to show the dragon, I'm a badass rider that's gonna ride you to glory. You want bond with me because I know what a dragon's supposed to do. He's not gonna bond with some weak little tiptoe person. Like that's not gonna give you a good dragon war experience. You know, Stefan Darkling, you want him on your back. Come on.
Yeah, that's true. But maybe a different dragon might have been nicer about it instead of like bending their neck and then being like, eh. They might have just sniffed him and then ignored him.
My birds aren't nicer about it, so I'd tell you that that's
Oh,
not
dang.
the case.
No, but yeah, but
Adam was
that's-
scared too, but Seasmoke, that's the thing, is Seasmoke is the dominant. She, you know, I don't know if it's Seasmoke's gender, but Seasmoke picked. Seasmoke was like, you're not running from me. So okay, fine, we're dating. Yeah, it was really funny to me. It's like, what do you do when the dragon has a crush on you? That's an interesting question that I had not thought about before.
Well, dragons had to mate with humans for this to happen, so
We've
There
all
you
seen
go.
the tapestries.
we
So
go
who
together
won the
now.
episode acting wise? Either of you guys can go if you have a take. Like Donkey and Shrek. Yeah, totally. Oh, Seasmoke is Donkey.
who won the episode acting?
I
The
guess I'll
throat
say
slice was so that he did not so that he didn't go into the dragon. The throat slice was so that he didn't have to burn alive for 5 minutes. That's all.
Yeah.
yeah. It's like those pills in the action movies. Cyanide pills. How about I'll say Aemond because he scared me.
He did. That's a good pick. Ewan. Tim? You can't
I
say
guess I'm-
Dalton. Dalton's not on the screen yet. You can't answer him.
No, I guess I'll go with Matt Smith. The dream sequences. I'm seeing that Daemon come to terms with things and actually show remorse. I think he captured. And then, the crying when he gets the news that Grover Tully is dead.
I really liked Matt's. I liked both those picks, Ewan and Matt. I'm torn between Mysaria, I forget the actor's name, and Emma. I'm going to go ahead and answer Emma. I really liked Rhaenyra this episode. And I find that when Emma Darcy holds a sword, slaps people, and kisses people, I enjoy the performance a lot more. So, and also when Emma's given lines to cook with. As we discussed, Shakespearean actor, you give Emma some ingredients and they will cook up a nice little feast. So I will say Emma, and the small folk will just do the other. But yes, what's the actor that plays Mysaria? I know the name.
Mysaria.
They were good. They were good. I do read Sonoya Mizuno. Thank you, Mizuno. I read Mysaria as sincere. By the way, I never gave my opinion on that earlier. I think she absolutely is sincere, 100%. Just wanted to say thanks and that I really enjoy watching and interacting after the episodes. Awesome. We are happy to be your place to interact and have fun. So let's put this one to the poll.
Yay.
Other thoughts on the acting performances?
Larys's actor was good too, but
Oh yeah.
But contrasting him to Mysaria, I don't think he was 100% sincere. I believe parts of what he told Aegon, because I think, again, the best lies are always coated with a little bit of truth, but I don't think he was as forthcoming with things as Mysaria was. Like, he's definitely still holding cards to his chest.
I also enjoy I know all the actors. Who plays Jace? Harry
Colette?
Harry Collette. I like what we're seeing with Jace. We're seeing a few different notes. He's a little more stressed. Sometimes he's mad at his mom. Sometimes he's very chummy with his mom. We can see they have that good mother-son relationship. He makes jokes. He's like, better to have some dragon riders. It's like, it feels like a real relationship with those two.
Yeah.
Most of Rhaenyra's scenes with Jace have been interesting, and Jace is showing us some range, like not too much range. He's a 17-year-old. He shouldn't be trying to do what Matt Smith is doing. The character, I mean, like the writing for the character. But we are seeing some different notes, and Harry's doing a good job. So I'm enjoying. I'll give a little honorable mention to Harry on this one.
Yeah,
Freddie Fox was good. Gwaine, yep. Sorry, Tim, go ahead.
Oh, someone pointed in chat, Daemon's crazy eyes. Yeah, that's one we didn't go over. Okay, so after the dream sequences, when he was like, okay, open the door, like the door is locked, and then he comes stumbling out, and Sir Simon is there, and like Daemon is like full on like Jack Torrance in the Overlook Hotel, and he puts the blade to Sir Simon's throat, and it's like, are you, basically like, are you messing me? Are you the one messing with me? Like, what's going on here? That is like, yeah, because it's like just the range of Matt Smith from going from the crying and the somberness and just to that like full on paranoia, and then leaving and going outside, and we hear Caraxes. I assume it's Caraxes, those howls in the background when he goes to Alice, and then out with Alice, he like really comes down and says like, "I need help. I need help."
Yeah, Matt Smith was great. I was glad that we just got to see some different stuff from him. It was very tense when he was menacing Simon Strong, who everyone loves. That was very tense. I thought it was funny though how he's like, "Your king is on he's on the defense." And he's got a little pocket knife. It's like, that was a very funny scene to me.
What about when Simon was like, shh, 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 shh? I'm like, are you shushing a grown man? I was like,
Yeah, oh my god. I do that. That's what me and my nephew is 5 months old, and we use the shushing technique to calm him down. And that's, I was like, I felt the same way. I'm like, this is what you do with an infant, the shushing technique.
Yeah, I don't think anybody expected this from Simon Strong. Like, he's a nothing character in the books. A nothing character.
No, but
and they
so
just cast
likable.
somebody really good, and just so that David would have a different foil besides Alice. And yeah, I think he really adds a needed note to the Harrenhal stuff, because all the creepy stuff is more creepy because it's like, what is it, Simon? Is it the turnips? Are the turnips served? Like, it's a very nice counterpoint. So
yeah. And we've been asking for humor, so Simon's giving that to us.
And Gail gets honorable mention. Some little more. I feel like we get a little more from Alice every episode. At first, she's just spooky, and it's all about what she's saying to Daemon. And now we're starting to really, get into this more. We're like, oh, well, she actually went and did something. First of all, she is real. People know her. And she went and did an assassination. That's interesting. We have to wonder, is she the one that Lionel cursed about the twisted foot? You saw Lionel go, he blamed somebody, for the sorcery or something. Was that Alice that he blamed?
I think so. I think so, because the way that, if we go back to like when Alice was first introduced, and we see like those guys look up, and it's like, who isn't bowing? Oh crap, it's Alice. Never mind, look away. Like, it seems like nobody wants to, like, they're reluctant to interact with her. Like, when she shows up and she takes some food off of the table, like, she's eating from the Lord's table. Yeah, she's a bastard, but nobody says anything about it. It seems more like everyone's just like, just let Alice do what Alice wants to do. Let's not even pry.
Let Alice cook. Literally, yes. Let her cook.
So I do think Larys. I think what Larys is most afraid of back home is Alice more than anything.
I do hope they connect all that. Go ahead, Nettles.
I don't know. I don't think they cursed the foot. I think he was just, if he really has a club foot, I think he was just born with a birth defect, because people are born with birth defects.
I wasn't saying that. I was just saying that he's the one. She might be the one that Lionel blamed, not that she really twisted his foot.
Not that she did it.
Yeah, because they said, Laurie said, my father blamed somebody for sorcery.
I said the sorcery of the castle of Harrenhal, the curse of Harrenhal.
No, he alluded to somebody but didn't say who, which I take to be Alice.
Okay, but either way, I don't believe that Harrenhal's cursed. So I don't believe that.
Oh,
Yeah,
Harrenhal's definitely cursed. It's totally
I don't think
cursed.
so.
It's cursed. Blood in
Okay,
the mortar.
whatever. You'll believe anything. Like,
They moved the headstones, but they didn't move the bodies. That's Harrenhal. It's the house
Yeah.
from Poltergeist.
She's trolling
it's the
you.
Overlook
She's
house.
trolling you. All right. So it looks like Matt Smith is winning this poll here. I will let it go for a little longer to let everyone weigh in. Yeah, Nettles, every time you do this, I get like 15 comments. That Nettles person is stupid. Why do they say stuff like that? Like it's called, you've been trolled. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I respond to them. I let them know that I saw them because they wanted that little bit of attention from me. I'll give it to them.
I delete a lot of them before you see them. Not a lot. I'm sorry. I'm making it sound like
I
it's
don't
me.
mind.
If I delete, I'm very hair trigger. Like if you're rude to me, you're gone. And if you say something about Nettles, you're gone too. So, or anybody else, except for Sean MacArthur, you can bag on him all you want.
But yeah,
I'm kidding, Sean. I love you, Sean. That's
said
Hero with 1,000 Faces, by the way, in the chat.
It happens to be two Nettles. I see the comments and I'm like, I'm not hurt by them. I'm disappointed in how unoriginal the insults are.
When you get a good one, you screenshot it. It's true.
It's always it's always the same thing. It's always some mix of you're a cuck, you're an incel, you're a libtard. I'm like, you're just throwing buzzwords. Hit me with something I've never heard before.
No, I absolutely do. Not that Nettles needs it, but no, I incinerate any sort of rude comments about any of my guests. In all seriousness, because that's not what this is for. But it is funny. It's funny because it's specifically, it'll be about something that you're kind of like trolling about. They'll be like, I can't believe she said that. Be like, well, maybe you shouldn't.
yeah.
Anyway. Okay, so let's close this one. Matt Smith is the winner. Emma Darcy also performed well. Ewan Mitchell, and at 14%, I think a lot of that was Sonoya Mizuno. So very cool. Nice, thanks, guys. Thanks for voting. So who's winning this old war? Before we say who's winning, I really liked Rhaenyra sort of grappling with the fact that like she's not in a good position. She's like, I don't have it. I'm on an island and I don't have a standing army. I lost Rhaenys and Daemon. I don't know. Like this is something that this is a real moment. This is not just her being wishy-washy and hesitant. This is actually her being realistic and saying, what's the path forward here? And so this is why this dragon seeds and also these political moves in King's Landing with the food are so important, because they've got to do something to turn the tide. And we also see Alice Rivers, helping out Daemon by nudging off old Lord Tully. So I would say that Team Green is still winning the war, but we're seeing the Blacks start to rally. So that's my answer.
Yeah, I judge this solely on like the episode in itself, like where they're at.
Yeah, which side advanced more?
Yeah. So I'm going to say Black this time, and I've said Green every other time. So it's finally switched for me because we got Addam. So we've gained a dragon, and you guys have lost a king and a dragon. Not lost a king and a dragon, but they've
gained a king.
They're benched. Well, no. They always had Aemond and Vhagar, so I'm not going to give them points for having the same team member again. But now Aegon is benched, and we have a whole dragon, and we have Addam.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go with Team Black, too, because, not only is Aegon benched, but Aegon knows. Aegon knows that Aemond tried to kill him, so he's stuck in that room knowing that Aemond wants him dead and he has no way of fighting. There's too much inner turmoil going on with the Greens right now, with that looming over Aegon while he's in his sickbed. Whereas with the Blacks, like, they're getting the small folk on their side. Daemon is having breakthroughs in his Harrenhal therapy. We lost Stefan Darkland, but the dragon seed, but we lost Stefan Darkland, but we gained Addam. So, you take what you can get. But the sowing of the dragon seeds, like the call is going to go out. So we'll just have to see what those results bring.
Well, I think this is a more interesting way to ask the question, who's gained more this episode. So we'll go with that, as Tim has defined it. I still think it's green, though. And I want to take a minute to talk about Aemond's managerial style, which I do not endorse, but is effective. Like I said, I'm not cut out to be a feudal monarch warlord type, so I'm too nice for that. However, Aemond is doing first of all, he's consolidating power. Okay? We went from a king that everyone was ignoring, which is not a good situation, to having an actual king, an actual executive who knows how to say, my way or the highway. I've made a decision. We're not going to debate it any further. Oh, we're good. We're all in agreement. Great. So we're seeing some real king stuff there. We're seeing some power politics. I think overall in a war, you want to have a strong, decisive leader. That's not to say everything Aemond is doing is right. However, he is probably a smart move to fire Larys and bring Otto back to King's Landing, right? Like if you're rooting for Team Green to win the war, that's a good move. Gaining Otto back and firing Larys. Alicent, like I said, could have gotten, could have been an ally, but not. Theory of Ice and Fire, what are you doing to me, buddy?
What's going on?
It's so random. I don't know where that came from.
Stay on topic. We're on episode 6.
Is this the second part of a joke? Okay. So
you were defending the Greens somehow.
I was defending the Greens somehow. I guess what I'm saying is they are in a good shape with Aemond in charge, prosecuting the war. He's got a good idea too. Like, what are we doing? We're gonna go and try to attack Daemon before he can get his army together. That's probably a smart move. If he can get the Westerlands to come down, because it was a joke. All right, yeah, let's
Woo!
Please,
Ooh, baby.
just it's not the joke we need to make.
Too soon. And you're gonna mess with the algorithm. Ooh, can't joke like that.
Please, no. I think it's good move to try to cut off Daemon before he can get it together. And the thing is, we just saw that he broke the stalemate because Alice took out old Lord Tully. And so now the new Lord Tully potentially will be able to help Daemon bring the Riverlands to heel. So, yeah, I'm going to say that that's a smart idea on Aemon's part. Regardless of how it works out. It makes sense as a move right now. So I think they are in a better position, but Aemon's also a bit of a psycho, so that might not work. We'll have to see. The chat says that Team Black gained more this episode. 91-9. Okay, I'll just be quiet then.
Wow. Landslide.
I have a question. So if you cut a weirwood down, is it dead? Because, like, why were the Children of the Forest so against cutting the trees down? What happens when you cut a weirwood tree down?
The weirwood organisms seem to exist mostly underground, which means cutting down the tops does not really seem to kill them. I think you have to uproot it or burn it. And even then, I question. I still think something's going to grow back after a while because the organism is underground. And Ghost of the High Heart obviously is haunting the stumps. Now, the stumps have not regrown. However, they still have the magical connection. So it might reduce their power. Maybe it reduces the ability of green seers to see out of the faces or something. But this is a theoretical question. What's your thoughts, guys?
Because I'm wondering, like, how effective could this weirwood bed be? Because obviously you've cut down this tree, you've turned it into something else. It shouldn't have power. It should be dead. Because if you could cut down the trees and still use their wood for magic, then why would the Children of the Forest be so mad about cutting it down? It shouldn't matter if they still live on, still have power. So I don't know. I was just thinking about that,
Yeah.
because
I feel dumb asking this,
Harrenhal is
but
built. Harrenhal is built with so many dead weirwoods.
yeah.
It's not just the bed; it's the entire foundation of it.
Well, so there's many questions running around, and I'll give it to Tim here, but cut weirwood does have magic, I think. That is not
Okay.
proven, but I think the best evidence for it is that Bloodraven makes weirwood arrows. And what would be the point of that? If the cut arrow didn't have some magical property, either Bloodraven can guide it better, or it's got like the spells that guide arrows work better with the weirwood arrow. Like it's got to have some magical property.
Yeah. I feel dumb asking this, but I'm sure there's at least one arborist in the chat. Can trees go back from stumps? Like, not weirwood, just any tree in general, can they?
They generally
a
will.
little-
Yeah, they will.
They
Yeah.
will? Oh.
Yeah. You'll get a little shoot right off the side of the stump. Sure you will. I am not an arborist, Tim, but I have done a lot of gardening in my day. Trees. Grew many trees, if you will. If you will. All right. So I think we have gone through all of our questions. Yes, we have. This poll, I'm going to put it out of its misery. It's just humiliating me. All right. Let's see if we got a couple more super chats that came through. Yes, we did. Terry Johnson, thank you. And also, don't know if it was talked about. I'm sure Alan. Yes, Alan was shaving silver hair. Yes, we mentioned that at the beginning. So, yeah, one brother got it, one brother didn't. It's just that's how genetics work. I mean, I'm a book reader, but the change, Rain and Nettles doesn't bother me. Nettles just ride to war once. I say let the showrunners cook. Well, that's kind of what we're saying. It's like our opinion on the change from the book is one conversation, and then what we see on screen and is it good is a different conversation. We will evaluate it on its own merits after complaining suitably about Nettles if she is not appealing.
But also, Nettles does more than just ride to war once.
Yes. Thank you. And I made a video about that. It was 40 minutes of video, and
Yeah.
there's several angles on Nettles that are important. And she's the
But I
only
agree
person
about-
to ever claim a wild dragon ever in recorded history. So that's incredible. She is a unique character. Do you think Otto can tame Aemond at all? I'm very interested. I kind of
because
think
Aemond-
that Otto might be just fine with Aemond and how he operates. I think they're going to get along pretty well, actually.
Yeah, because Aemond specifically wants Otto back. He does not want to keep Kristen Cole as his hand. And he doesn't want to give it to the Toad.
That was so great. Set him up, too. He set him up for it just so he could, like, oh, I've never considered this honor for my... Not you, you toad. Like, I'm going to watch that like 10 times. Okay. So, there's lots to talk about. I think I'll have no problem making an actual House of the Dragon video this week. I was debating. I was like, should I just make another Ice and Fire video? But I think I'll make a Hot Dragon video this week.
Woohoo!
How did we like the Dragon Dreams video? Did you watch it yet?
I've yet to watch it, sorry.
I just put it out today. It's okay.
You made it. I didn't watch the one today. Well, I started it, but I had to.
I was asking the chat.
Oh, I'm sorry. After
But
4
I
days
watched your
away,
previous videos on the Dragon Dream, which is how I knew the theory.
I'm
I
so
have mentioned
behind
it a
on
few
all my
times.
YouTube subs.
Well, this is good. I've got the Tim and Nettles bump to look forward to. You guys watching it will galvanize other people to watch it. So, and of course, in case you missed it, I will show the new Urtach Altanaz artwork that we commissioned.
Woohoo!
And I will just say that I was talking to Urtach about like different angles and how to do it and stuff. He ended up doing his own thing that was way better than everything we talked about. So all credit to him. I can't take any art direction credit as much as I would like to. But this is Daenys the Dreamer, seeing the vision of the Doom, which apparently came from Balerion. So
Really nice.
I had Urtach draw us up some Daenies and Balerion, and it turned out magnificent. So check out the video if you haven't already. And we've got t-shirts. We've got Caraxio's t-shirts. We got Nana Vagar t-shirts, Reading Rhaegar t-shirts. Check them out at the merch store at the link below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed to the channel already. Make sure you have subscribed to the Girl Nettles channel. Girl Nettles made a video, which is still worth watching, even though she is there. I'm sure you have, still worth watching. And then,
Yeah.
Tim, you have put out a couple videos recently as well.
Yeah. And there are more in the works. Probably going to wait till the postseason.
Yeah.
So there you go. Subscribe to the channels and stuff. And thank you very much for being a beautiful audience. And this was a fun episode, and we will see you back next week for more Aftermath. Huzzah!
Bye.
Not you, you toad. Toad.